Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Show, where I take calls from the general public on TikTok Live, and we discuss politics and stuff. If you look at the top comment, the pinned comment, if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can find when the first call starts. There'll be a timestamp there, as well as some more detailed timestamps in the description if you want to jump around and find the various things. What's the news today? Mitch McConnell is still dead, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Every time something in American politics has, every single time I think that they've gotten as ridiculous as it's going to be in terms of just doing ridiculous stuff you used to see in comedy movies, then we pull a Weekend at Bernie's. I try not to conspiracy theorize. I try not to say things on this show that I don't have concrete evidence for, but I just find the Mitch McConnell situation to be hilariously suspicious, and we're running out of time. We've got like 2 weeks for the public to prove that this guy's dead, so that they can do a special election and Thomas Massie has a chance of taking his seat in Kentucky. Yeah, those are the noises I make thinking about that. We got Raven in the producer's chair today. Say good morning, Raven.
Good morning.
What else is going on? We got some court support stuff this week for people who are arrested in Minnesota. I might go to some of that tomorrow afternoon. So there might be some live coverage of that. Let's get the backup account in the corner so that as we start taking calls, that can be in the corner already. Let's see. Let's get the multi-guest request queue open. Midwest Progressive is in the chat sharing the live with everybody who's ever existed. Love to see it. We're going to be pestering people to follow Oskar Quentin 2 today. Let me switch back over from Oskar Quentin music. Oh, Hegseth is live right now. Interesting. I bet the Discord will keep me updated on what he says. All right, let's get that. Let's keep that queue open. Maybe we can get started right away with calls. Yesterday was a breath of fresh air on the show. I felt like yesterday was the first time in a while that the show felt reasonably normal in terms of just getting callers who support Trump. Because we're getting lots of trolls, we're getting lots of just harassment and nonsense. Because it's getting pretty difficult to find somebody who just from the bottom of their heart thinks that Trump is doing a good job. And asking the bigots to turn their cameras on has been scaring them away. A lot of people bail right away. It's also very funny where they're like, "Oh, you want to see my face? What's your home address?" And I'm like, "You can already see my face. What do you mean? Why are you one-upping? Like, we're just trying to make it fair in terms of the, degree to which we have to stand by the things that we say." So that's been good. But, we have people like RJ who've been doing that forever. And it does prevent us from wasting time. Because sometimes the trolls are entertaining. Sometimes they get the viewership up. Sometimes I get some good Instagram clips out of them. And I try to balance that. I try to just, ride the wave with it. But when it's just like everything, oh yeah, I can see in the chat somebody saying that Johnny was having trouble too. Yeah, I mean, there are just certain days where it's crazy. Sunday, I think I'd have been less bummed out on the show if it had occurred to me that it was the last day of the World Cup. It makes sense that it was a pretty bum stream, that taken into consideration. I just thought it was an unusually crummy Sunday in terms of getting good calls. Anyway, we've got somebody in the queue. Are we going to hit the ground running with today's show? We'll see if Nate's a troll or somebody who actually wants to talk politics. I hope it's the latter. Nate, tell us how old you are.
I do support him, like 21.
21. You support Trump?
Yeah.
Okay, why is that?
Because I think my life hasn't changed.
Do you think that how your personal life is going is a good way to judge how a politician is doing?
Politician, yeah, because they govern me, right?
Well, right, but they govern lots more people than just you.
Yeah, but I think if I care about everyone, I should care about the people suffering, right? And I think that everyone in the world, is suffering. So I only care about my life if I'm going to be honest with you. I guess that's greedy, but that's the truth.
I mean, it is greedy. You recognize that it's greedy. Do you think that the world would be a really good place if everybody else behaved in that way as well?
Unless you are running for something, right? No, it wouldn't be good. But if you are just an individual, yes, absolutely, because we die as
well, no, I'm asking how you think your life would go if everybody else around you also behaved as selfishly as you do.
Well, that's how they behave. I'm going to be honest with you. I think people...
It's not the way I behave.
So if it's not the only way you behave, can you like fix the world? Would you say that you can?
Well, it's people who behave in that way who've been at odds with people who don't behave in that way for much of human history. It's kind of this good versus evil fight. We have a bunch of selfish assholes who make changes to the world that are bad for people on average and preserve these power structures, like having all the wealth at the tippy top of this pyramid where very few people control most everything in the country. That gets really tangled up in our politics. Like, that's really nasty. Like, that's kind of what we're fighting against. It's this nasty little thing about human nature, is that people without good education, people often aren't very cooperative. Sounds like you haven't become educated enough to realize you should be cooperative in your life, and I'd like to explore that about you.
Well, I am cooperative, but
no, you're not. No, your whole entire perspective on politics is an uncooperative one. You don't value how other people are doing. You only look at your own perspective. That's inherently uncooperative, and that'll inherently lead to solutions where the more people who think like you, the worse a place the world becomes, for the reasons I just said.
I have a question for you, right?
Okay.
If there's two choices, right? There's a Democratic and a Republican choice, and I have to cast my vote. And this president, right, the one on the left, cares about the world, but is going to do so much harm to me that if I vote for her, I'm not going to do any self-good to myself, right?
What harm is going to befall you? What harm was going to befall you if you voted for Kamala Harris, or if Kamala Harris became president?
No, I'm just giving you a hypothetical. I'm not giving you names.
Sure. Okay, well, you said her.
So if I pick the one on the right, it's going to do self-good to me, and they're going to do probably bad for other people, but they're going to do good for me. Which one should I choose?
Well, I mean, not all else kept equal. Like, I can look at that super simplistic and say, oh, one option good, one option bad. Wow, congratulations, caller. I think you should choose the good option. But it's more complicated than that. The whole point is that we're talking about more than that. By the way, I'm just going to interrupt for a moment and say thank you very much, Kronos, for starting the show strong with a $50 YouTube super chat. He says, payday for me means payday for you. Let's get a good live today. Is it going for 4 hours? Also, W Raven on their multitasking. Yes, we've got Raven in the seat today doing timestamps and stuff. Probably not. I have some eating plans today. We've been running longer than 2 hours, but no official announcements about the show length extending. We're just going to do that as is possible. Caller, back to you. You recognize your examples like totally oversimplistic, and obviously with no other details, I'm just going to default to the one that sounds better. But that's not what we're talking about.
Well, if that's not what you're talking about, I thought, when I saw your flag, I was like, fuck eyes. Mm-hmm. I don't think that we should say fuck eyes, because
you're moving on to other stuff. I thought we were still in hypothetical who's good and bad for me land. Do you want to talk about the current politics of the country, or do you want to stay in hypothetical, you're selfish, I'm not, whose strategy is better for society land? What are we doing?
We can stick to the hypothetical. I think that we should care about our own well-being, right? Or do you care about everyone's well-being?
I care about everybody's well-being, and I think that even through a selfish lens, it is still a better strategy to care for everybody's well-being, because you don't know what type of person you're going to end up. You're in your early 20s. You could vote for some policies that are good for you now, and then your life could change really drastically due to situations that are out of your control, and then you could be sitting there regretting that you voted for a president who's bad for almost everybody, because you changed who you were and ended up one such person. Whereas if you just vote for somebody who's better on average for everybody, regardless of who you happen to be right now, it gives you some security that no matter what happens in your life, you'll be protected by the president, which is what we want.
I'm gonna give you the sole reason why I voted for Trump. It was because I lost 3 people during COVID, and it was under Biden. So that's the reason why I voted for him, and that's why
I'm sorry that happened to you, but you are not honoring those people by assigning fault to their deaths to the person who happened to be president. Do you think that COVID was either Trump or Biden's fault?
The way they handled it, absolutely.
I genuinely believe that there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who are dead because of bad advice that Trump gave.
Well, one of the things that he did good was that vaccine that he...
Operation Warp Speed was a really successful program. I think it was a great program. I think it was a tremendous program. I think it's a program that I think it was a program that any sitting president would have run. I think if we switched it and Biden had been president in 2016 and Trump had been president in 2020 and the other way around, I think that Biden would have done the things that Trump did, and I think Trump would have done a lot of the things that Biden did. I don't think there would have been much difference, because at the end of the day,
that's not recognizing the accomplishment that someone did, because I can say that
no, but we're not talking about recognizing the accomplishment. I did recognize the accomplishment. What we're talking about is that you blame Biden because 3 people you know died during his term, and that's nonsense. That's a silly thing. You are not honoring your dead friends.
Well, I like the fact that in order to go into a private or a public institution, you needed a vaccine card, right? But after Biden became president,
I got divorced while Biden was president. Was my divorce Biden's fault?
It's not addressing what I said.
I'm addressing that you said that it's Biden's fault that your friends died. And I think that that's fucking silly. I said that
vaccine mandate. Absolutely.
You think that the vaccine mandate is what killed your friends?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Because they stopped enforcing, ID cards, vaccine cards in public institutions.
And you wanted them to be more strictly require vaccines, and that's what would have saved your friends?
Yes, absolutely. Not my friends, my family.
Okay, but Biden, do you think that Trump, if he had been president during that time, he would have been more strict about requiring vaccines?
I think he would have handled it differently. Maybe
I asked a very specific question, and I'm not going to let you out of it. You think that if Trump had won in 2020, he would have been more strict on requiring vaccines in public places than Biden was?
Yes.
Why do you think that? That's very silly to think.
Just think like that, man.
You can't just think. Did he run? He just thinks like that and he ran? That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who haven't thought critically about the things that are so important to them. We're talking about people who have lost family members and have not spent 30 seconds thinking about if it's reasonable, the things they're upset about, thinking that had to do with those family members dying. And they run the moment they're confronted with it. That call hurt. That kid's lost. I think we need to raise the age that we call somebody an adult. I think COVID fucked up our education system enough that, like, I think like a 22-year-old's an adult these days. That's why I talk to 21-year-olds like kids when they call in. I go right into high school mode. If you think I'm doing a good job dealing with America's deeply troubled youth, you can go to the link tree in my bio and catch more of me when I'm off air on YouTube in VOD form as a podcast. All of it's on there. Follow the backup accounts, which is, where am I pointing? There. Follow the backup account on TikTok if you're watching here, if you want to make sure you catch me live when this account eventually gets banned for something silly. Or go find the Linktree's pay options. We got Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Show runs on donations from contributions from viewers like you. That sort of thing. And Tavi. Whoa, okay, hold on. We got lots of membership things going on. We got Tavi, who sent 5 memberships over on YouTube. Thanks for getting some more people in the club. And Joey added his monthly message. The amount of growth this last month alone has been insane to see. I'm excited to see this continue to grow. W Raven, W Jesse, W Oscar, I guess. JK. Yeah, the growth is fucking crazy. We're very, very close to 100,000 Instagram followers, which is just crazy numbers for doing this for less than 6 months. But the request queue is very, very full, which suggests to me that it's mostly trolls. So we're going to talk to Biggie G. We're going to see if the show keeps going with a meaningful conversation, because it's unfortunate it was cut short, but that previous conversation did at least feel meaningful to me. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Why is that?
I just think he aligns with my values.
What are those values?
Well, first of all, I'm actually socially left-wing. But I am I'm actually a neo-libertarian phalangist, so...
We're going to talk to Eli and see if Eli values what I'm doing and cares enough about his country to not waste my time. How old are you?
I'm 18.
You're a Trump supporter?
Yeah, I was, but I just want to say I love what you're doing, but you changed my mind.
Please, I appreciate that, but please keep the channel clear here at the beginning. If you do want to touch base about some stuff I changed your mind about, I really would like to hear that. Just try to do it after the first hour of the show. I try to keep it pretty densely to debates. Mao, Mao, Mao. We've definitely spoken to Mao, Mao, Mao before. Is this a real call or is he a troll? I don't remember.
I feel like we would have banned them if they were
that's
troll.
true. Yeah, but definitely seen the username before. Hello, how old are you?
Hey, I'm 36. I'm a friendly, so I'll leave space for it. My bad.
No worries, no worries. Ya tu sabes. I think we've definitely spoken to him before, but again, not banned, so probably real caller. Hello, how old are you?
Hey, how you doing? 41.
Trump supporter?
Yeah, definitely. We actually spoke, but I think your live froze up probably like 3 days ago.
Yeah. I was having tech difficulties the other day. Where did we leave off? What were we talking about?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'll be lying if I said something, but I think it has to do something with me voting for Trump to protect myself from DSA, from the Socialist Party.
Okay. Yeah. I don't feel like we made much progress. I think we should start that over at the beginning. Why are you so afraid of the DSA?
Well,
Democratic Socialist of America for people.
Yeah. They're trying to abolish the Senate. I mean, the co-chairman just said it. Their co-chairman said it. They want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish prisons. They want to open borders.
Okay.
This is. I mean, honestly, between you and me, you don't think that's dramatic? Don't you think that's a little bit?
First of all, I will just say I'm a little skeptical that that's exactly what they said. I doubt they said that in such clear language. If they did, I'm also against those sorts of ideas, and I don't think that voting for blue candidates is going to create that sort of outcome ever.
Well, hold on. Don't you think the Democratic Party created this monster that can't control right now?
I think that that's a loaded question. I think that for me to answer that question at all, I have to agree that the DSA is a monster, which I don't. So I don't like that sort of question. Try again.
So you think abolishing the Senate is bad?
Probably, yeah. I can imagine.
Right.
I can imagine a future in America where we have a constitutional convention and we change how we do some things. But like generally, in the current political perspective, as far as I can see, like looking forward 10, 20, 30 years, no, I don't think that that's a sensible thing to say. I just wouldn't rule it out for something that might happen in the future of America's history.
Right. And what would you say when a person from the DSA, the co-chairman, which came out on Fox News himself, the co-chairman of DSA says that he wants to abolish the Senate?
I would say what I just said to you.
Would you still vote for a person like that?
I might, yeah. If the other candidate is a rapist, I probably would vote for.
So you'll be willing to go against the constitutional rights in Article 1 for just to make a point.
I'm sorry. Proposing a constitutional convention doesn't go against Article 1. There's a mechanism in the Constitution to abolish the Senate. It's called a constitutional convention. It requires widespread support from most of the states. So
do you agree to abolishing the Senate, though?
No, that's ridiculous. I think you're being disingenuous. I think you know that I don't want that. I think that I'm sitting here trying to weigh like what sort of situation I might vote for somebody who
you're willing
supports.
to sacrifice that, though.
No. I'm not, because I don't think that voting for one person in our government who supports that sort of policy at all, it makes it likely for that sort of thing to come out. Because as I was excuse me, I'm not finished. Listen, use your listening ears. The amount of widespread cooperation we would need from elected officials in almost every state in order to enact a constitutional convention and abolish the Senate is so ridiculously large that I'm not at all concerned about one person, one rogue, super left-wing blue candidate in the House or Senate who wants to do that. That's not interesting to me. If there was a widespread movement, we could talk about it. But if we're talking about voting for people who are going to continue protecting the Epstein class or not continue protecting the Epstein class, I would vote for the person who's not going to protect the Epstein class, even if they had some silly ideas about a constitutional convention that I didn't agree with.
Right. So you vote based on what the chairman or the leader of that DSA party provides, right?
No, I don't pay any attention to what he says. I don't know that person's name.
Really?
I don't listen to them at all. I form my own political ideologies.
So hold on, are you voting for your own political ideology? Is that in the ballot?
I'm judging whether or not each candidate is more likely to achieve an outcome that I weigh as good compared to bad in consideration of my own political ideologies. I'm not a single issue voter.
I asked you before if you're willing to vote for someone that says they would abolish the Senate. Just because for you to make the point that I'd rather vote for someone like that than vote for a rapist. You said that, right?
Yeah, I think that wanting to abolish the Senate is a pretty silly platform to run on, and I think it's pretty silly that we elect rapists at all in this country. And I consider the latter a bigger problem than the former, because I don't think it's at all likely for there to be a constitutional convention, possibly in my lifetime. I really don't think it's likely at all.
So you're willing to sacrifice that likelihood on voting somebody that wants to abolish the Senate?
you keep focusing on voting for someone who's going to abolish the Senate, but I don't think you're phrasing it correctly. One person who wants to abolish the Senate isn't going to be successful at abolishing the Senate, which is they're so neutered in their capability to accomplish that I'm just not actually worried about it. And what I am really worried about are the actual consequences of voting for the other people. And by the way, I don't even know what election we're talking about. Is there a candidate who wants to abolish the Senate that's going to be on my ballot?
The co-chairman of the DSA.
Right. Are they going to be on my ballot in November?
Well, that's the co-chairman of the DSA.
I'm sorry. My question once more: are they going to be on my?
Anything that aligns
my
with
question?
The DSA?
No. I'm not going to let you continue to disingenuously.
You're not going to let me answer your question.
You are intentionally disingenuously misrepresenting my perspective on this. I want you to answer my question directly. Is this person that we're talking about on my ballot in November? I live in Minnesota.
Not intentionally, no, but
I'm sorry. Is their name? I don't care about intent. I don't care whether it was by accident or intentionally. No. You said not intentionally. Is his name going to be on my ballot? Yes or no?
Whoever's going to be in your ballot,
yes or no? It's a yes or no question. You are only allowed to answer with a yes or no. It's my show. It's my show. I'm in charge here. You are dodging a straightforward yes or no. Yes, I do. I'm forcing it to a yes or no.
So no wonder you're a communist.
Yeah, dude.
No wonder you are.
Is his name going to be on my ballot?
Answer my question.
It's my show. The show isn't run with communism. The show is run fascistically. It's a production environment. I'm in charge. I'm the producer. The question is his name going to be on my ballot? Yes or no?
Anybody that will
is
be
his
in that
name going to be on my ballot? Yes or no?
Yes.
His name. What's his name?
On that ballot
what's his name?
Have the same views
no. This is nonsense. Nobody's going to take you seriously if you answer the question yes when the answer is no. What's his name? Say it for me. Who's this person?
Ricardo. I don't know what his last name is.
Ricardo. Is it going to say Ricardo on my ballot?
Co-chairman of the DSA.
Is it going to say Ricardo on my ballot here in Minnesota?
Yes, maybe.
Maybe. You think he's going to run for office in Minnesota?
He's a co-chairman of the DSA. Why wouldn't he?
There's 50 states. Why would the co-chairman of the DSA run for office in any particular state? I don't know what state he lives in. This is bullshit, and you know it. You know his name is not going to be on. You want me to assign my entire political ideology to this one person's comment about the Senate? When there are I'm worried about concentration camps, not Senate reform right now.
Which ones? The ones that Obama created?
No, the ones that are being built right now to support Trump's deportation.
What do you mean, the cages that the Democratic Party
I don't take created? You seriously. Camera on or get off my show. You have 10 seconds.
Yeah, you just can't hang with this debate. You just can't.
5 seconds.
This is why you're muting me.
Oh, you're welcome to stay on the show if this is serious. I don't believe that it's serious. Oh, that's 10 seconds. Get off my show. You can try again on a different day. I'm probably just going to ask you to turn your camera on again. Because I think that telling me, being unwilling to answer the question, is this person's name that we're talking about, is this person going to be on my ballot? Because you're so concerned that I'm going to be voting for some particular thing. You just picked somebody who's the same color politically, blue, said that they have a silly idea, like abolishing the Senate, which I admitted is silly, and said that any vote for anybody blue is therefore believing that particular thing that person is saying, which is nonsense. Do you think I could take anything that any Republican has ever said and said that because you're voting for Republicans, you're therefore supporting this idea, you're therefore in favor of this particular thing happening? Absolutely fucking ridiculous and disingenuous, and I'm sick of people who are unwilling to show their face, trying to act like they deserve a serious place in the discourse. They do not. We're going to talk to Radical Femme Philosopher. That sounds like it could be a friendly or a troll, based on the username. How old are you?
Hey, 29.
You a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Why do you support Trump?
Well, just because he aligns with my moral framework.
Please describe your moral framework.
Yeah. Well, to just maybe start this conversation off with something like economic policy, align with increasing productivity. His agenda of cutting corporate tax rates or OBI tax rates, that would obviously align.
Your moral framework is to cut taxes for corporations?
Part of it, yeah. Do you understand what a moral framework is?
I think I do understand what a moral framework is. I think you skirted right past morals and got right to corporate taxes. I think we should talk about people, not corporations, if we're talking about ethics.
Are they mutually exclusive?
Are
those mutually exclusive?
No, I think that your answer demonstrates a lack of care for humanity and an interest in the financial benefit for the few, because I think that cutting corporate taxes really only benefits a small number of people.
Well, I was arguing that it actually betters society.
I don't think that it does. I think that we've seen a really long trend that's much bigger than Trump or like the current Project 2025 issue. I think that we saw that when corporate and personal taxes were highest in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, that tax money was being used to really benefit everyday Americans. And the wealthy have used their money to involve themselves in politics in a way that has reduced those tax rates in a way that's really harmful to those people. And we see the effects of that really quite amplified under policies offered by Donald Trump. That's why we're seeing more American manufacturers filing for bankruptcy. That's why we're seeing less investment in American manufacturers. If you want to measure it in terms of productivity, the effects are very clearly bad. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I was getting at standard of living. So you're arguing the standard of living was higher in the 60s and 70s? And
no,
50s?
you know, camera on. That was disingenuous. You know that's not what I'm arguing. You know that the quality of life is going up on average over time, and we're talking about the efficacy of these policies. I don't at all take you seriously if you're going to listen to what I just said and say that that was my argument. Camera on, or you can't stay on my show. You have 10 seconds.
Why is that triggering you? I'm just trying to...
I am triggered by now. It triggered my understanding of you being a disingenuous piece of shit who's going to run by saying that you don't have to turn your camera on. 5 seconds.
I don't do that on TikTok. That's weird. Why are you like not engaging?
I explained very clearly why I'm not engaging. I will engage if you turn your camera on. Last chance.
What does that have to do with me outlining my moral framework?
Your moral framework is bullshit, and you know it. And that's why you won't show your face in accordance with it. You can try again with your camera on another day. If you like the way I handle assholes like that, go to the link tree in my bio and support the show by following me on all the other platforms. That doesn't cost a dime, and if you have a dime you want to spare, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Buy Me a Coffee is international if you don't live in the United States. Jaden did that for $25 on Venmo. They said, Hex on Discord. Oh, hey, Hex. Hi, Oscar and Raven. Love your show and what you're doing. Always keep on killing it. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. It helps. Because for new listeners, we got staff here. We got people who run the show with me. And can't really do the show to the degree that I am without them. That's why I get to do longer days. Some days I've been doing 3 and 4 hours, some days instead of 2. Anyway, let's see if Deezy is somebody worth taking seriously. Hello, how old are you?
Yo, what's up, bro?
How old are you?
27. We've talked before, bro.
Okay, I've talked to hundreds of people. It's not.
Yeah, no, I was just hoping you remembered me, bro.
Maybe I will if you tell me some of your beliefs. Do you support Trump?
I do, but not you. You kind of convinced me it's not really a support for Trump anymore, bro. Like you helped me out. It's more. I really just oppose some of the left now. It's not that I am a supporter of the right, really.
You're still, well, so it sounds like you're a conservative, but not a Trump supporter?
Yeah, kind of.
I'm glad I've convinced you on that. I mostly...
And like,
go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about ICE and how it's unconstitutional, and I said you got some points and like how it's debatable, or it's like up for interpretation, some of the parts. But I don't agree ICE should be out hunting people, but I think we should have some stable borders.
Yeah. I think that the current situation, like if we're to look at the last 5 or 10 years, I would say that what's happening at the border is unstable in a very like technically accurate way. I think it is not a sustainable state of affairs. And that's why I think that everybody agrees we need to do something about immigration. There's pretty widespread agreement we need to do something about immigration. I think that was maybe some of the common ground we found when we spoke the first time. I'm pretty sure I do remember our conversation.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, you know, Republicans and Democrats tend to disagree about some of the minutia around that. But I'm glad that it seems like you agree that Trump's approach is a pretty nasty one.
It is. It's kind of fascist, actually. And it's just kind of scary.
Mm-hmm. It is scary.
But do you think it's a conspiracy, or you think it's real that the left wants more immigrants in here for more voters?
That's a conspiracy.
100%.
I mean, a person who immigrates to this country can vote eventually if they achieve citizenship, but nobody's saying that we should just like hand out social security cards at the border. Like nobody's trying to like cram the next election full of immigrants by giving them voting rights. Like that's a conspiracy theory peddled by Fox News to make people scared of people like me. That's not what we're asking for.
And this might be something else peddled by Fox News or just like fear mongers. But what about like the no voter ID stuff that was pushed probably like in 2020 and kind of still being pushed a little bit, not as hard?
Well, there's this thing going on where Republicans are trying to make it harder to vote, and they're doing that under the guise of protecting the security of our elections by saying that it's going to prevent voter fraud. But the issue is that when you make election voting harder for everybody by adding steps, when you do that to hundreds of millions of people, because hundreds of millions of people participate in elections in America, even just adding a step or just like a little like, oh, you need to like, you know, send a letter or like pay $20 for an application fee, just any little teeny step like that, when you apply it to millions and millions of people, there's going to be lots of people who don't have the time or space or maybe just education to deal with it. And that's going to result in a lot of people not being able to vote, whether it's because they're so poor that they can't, you know, they'd rather decide between food and rent instead of throwing their voting rights in the mix. Or maybe they just, you know, don't pay attention enough to the news to realize they have to do that. So they show up to vote and without realizing they're no longer registered or they're no longer eligible or they don't have the right documentation. So we have to weigh how many people are going to be stopped from voting by this little policy change versus how many fraudulent votes are we going to prevent. And nobody has been able to present evidence that there are.
Yeah, the way the means out. Justify.
Right. We're talking about potentially disenfranchising millions of voters in order to, if we're going to talk about something like the SAVE Act, which is the current push to change the way these rules work, if it's successful, if it pushes in any form that's close to the way it's currently written, millions of people potentially are going to get swept up in that, not have their passport applications filed in time, or women who've changed their last name not realizing that makes them no longer eligible to vote, and they have to go do a whole mess of paperwork, and how to deal with that is different from state to state. Like, so many people are going to get swept up in that, and nobody has been able to provide me evidence that across the entire country the number of fraudulent votes that would prevent is anything more than like a 2 or 3 digit number of votes, you know, 100 or 1,000 votes, somewhere in that magnitude. And in an election of 150,000 people, there's greater error just literally from people miscounting the damn votes. We hand count the things in a lot of places, and they're not, you know, people miscount sometimes. When we do a recount in a county to like, because a county was close, it's never exactly right. The recount. The recounts get us, you know, show that we're pretty close, but it's off by a handful. And those handful of votes that it's off by in every county across the country, that is a bigger source of error than voter fraud. But the Republicans are really trying to push this notion that the ends justify the means, and people like me have to sit here and try to dispel that.
I hear you, and I see how that could be an issue. Just adding one more step and the domino effect of how that could affect millions.
Well, it's not so much the domino effect as it is like this amplified effect where somebody can say like, oh, so what, you have to send a letter, oh, so what, you have to do a piece of paperwork, and it's like, right, but 150 million voters, the number of people who forget or don't have the money in their bank account after they buy groceries or whatever little thing it is that's going to stop them from doing it, that number might be millions of people. And if we're going to judge policy about, you know, whether or not it makes our elections better or worse in terms of getting the outcome that's fair according to some basic democratic principles, it's just pretty clear that these policies are bad. We're not going to end up with a person who is more duly elected by the people if we disenfranchise all those people by making the system harder. It also, a lot of these things, you know, the idea of introducing legislation that creates an expense in order to, like an expense that sits between you and the voting booth, a lot of people say that legally that's also a constitutional violation because it creates what's called a poll tax. Yeah. So it's a roundabout way of creating a poll tax, and the Republicans might say, well, we're not technically requiring a poll tax to vote, we're requiring it to get your paperwork in order, and now your paperwork needs to be in order for you to vote. So congratulations, you found a loophole to create a poll tax. I'm not impressed.
Yeah, so, and I see, like, I agree with everything you just said, and I'm approaching this with good faith. Like, I agree with everything you said, but is that one step simply just getting a photo ID? And is that too much to ask for, or is it other things?
Well, so I'll say that even if it was just getting a photo ID, if you don't already have one, that could be enough, you know, like give that problem to 150 million people, and some of them won't solve it by November. And that's kind of the sort of thing that I'm describing. But in particular with the SAVE Act, the sorts of things that are going to be required are going to be different depending on the type of person that you are. You might just have to get a fresh ID. You might already have the paperwork you need, but I specifically brought up women that have changed their last name because one of the things that I genuinely think is the purpose of the SAVE Act, the thing that they are actually trying to accomplish, because I think that they are knowingly peddling bullshit.
It would affect them the most.
It's going to affect people who have changed their name, and what's a group of people who've changed their name more disproportionately?
Widows or I guess black girls. Black young.
You're thinking too far. It's so much simpler than that. It's just married women. Married women. Yeah, because married women change their names often in our culture, and that means that their photo ID might not match their birth certificate. It might not match what's on the records or what they have for proof of documentation. So they need to go do more. And the things that the hoops that a person needs to jump through to deal with a name change like that vary state to state, because the states tend to handle the paperwork on their own in a lot of cases. So what a married woman has to do in order to remain eligible to vote is a bigger pile of shit than somebody like you or me would have to do. And that's unfair, because we were talking about how it's bad to create these hurdles in general. Imagine creating these hurdles, but it's a bigger pile of hurdles if you're a woman, or it's a pile of hurdles that are more difficult to get over if you're poor. Because I said time and space earlier, like time is money, right? Like if you're driving Uber Eats to make your rent and make your groceries, an hour spent going to the DMV to like sort out some paperwork is an hour that you could have spent with your family living your life, or working to pay for your life. We're trying to take that away from people so that they have to go run errands or deal with whatever in order to vote, in order to accomplish virtually nothing. If voter fraud was a widespread issue, if there was a chance that it affects the outcome of these elections, I might be on board. I might say, oh man, we got to get everybody's paperwork in order. We have to make it free. We have to hire people to process these applications quickly. Those are the sorts of things I'd be saying. But because voter fraud is just such a non-issue, I just think the whole fucking thing is stupid and obviously an attempt to disenfranchise women and poor people disproportionately.
Yeah, I agree with that majority. I do think that you should have a valid ID. I don't think you have to, like, if you're married and your ID is still valid, but you have a different last name, I don't think you should have to go do that, do a bunch of paperwork. I just think you should have an ID.
Well, right, and we could talk maybe about some reform.
I don't know if other people are not requiring that or not. That's just what Fox News, some people are pushing.
Katie threw $5 in the YouTube super chat to add to the conversation. Trans people change their names too. White cis men seem to be the ones who want this SAVE Act. White men scared of people who are not them voting. Yeah, so trans people are another group of people who frequently do name changes. But yeah, I mean, I could sit here and say like, yeah, like it would be nice if the government, for one thing, like made it cheap and easy to get your documents in order, just so that the only thing you have to invest is time, which is still valuable to poor people, compared, in terms of balancing somebody's schedule and budget for the month, like that matters. I could sit here and say that wouldn't it be nice if it works this way, but I think the thing I want to convey to you is that this idea of like, oh, we should have an ID, but if you've changed your name and it's harder to get an ID, the government should help you so that it's not harder for you to get your ID. That sounds lovely. That's not the way that the Republicans who are voting for the SAVE Act are thinking. That they are not thinking in that sort of democratic spirit. They are not interested in.
I think that's how they could. I think that's how the Democrats and Republicans
but they're not.
Work together in ways like that. Like, yeah, we're going to require the ID, but we're going to expedite it and make it free. Just go click and apply online, make it easy for you.
Right, but I think that in order for the Republicans to negotiate in a way that actually supports democracy, like their motivations would have to be completely different. So I would say that I don't think any negotiation about the SAVE Act is ever going to be the Republicans and Democrats trying to work together in order to improve election security or make elections more free and fair in America generally, or whatever it is. I genuinely think the entire purpose from the right is to disenfranchise voters who disproportionately vote blue, because women and poor people do disproportionately vote blue in this country. So I think I would say don't give them that inch, because they'll call it a mile of support. The SAVE Act is inexcusable. The idea that any one of our elected officials doesn't understand these concerns that I have about it and doesn't weigh them heavily is nonsense. Nobody who doesn't understand what I just described. Sorry, my cat's pulling cords. Scout. Sorry, she almost yanked my headphones off my head. Any politician who doesn't recognize the concerns I have about the SAVE Act is lying through their teeth.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think a lot of politicians are lying from both sides. I think they both lie.
Yeah, and that's the sort of, but I'm weary of you just coming back and saying that people lie on both sides, because I don't think that you'll find legislation being pushed from the left where there's an obvious and clear ulterior motive that they are not telling the public about. In general, when there's widespread support among Democrats in Congress or the House or the Senate for a particular bill, the reason they're telling you that they're trying to pass the bill makes sense, even if you disagree with it, even if it's maybe not aligned with your ethics about social values or whatever thing it is. They're not generally lying to you. They're not trying to pull a fast one. I think the thing that we need to put our attention on here is that the Republicans are trying to pull a fast one. They're trying to trick people into supporting this legislation.
Well, they have pulled a fast one.
They've pulled lots of fast ones. We're just talking about this one that they're trying to pull.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I'm pushing back on you. That's why I'm pushing back on you saying that like there's dishonesty on both sides, because you can find examples of dishonesty on both sides. Of course, these are big groups of people. There's 5,400 state level representatives in this country. There's lots of politicians in the country. You can find an example of any one of them doing, or any of somebody on either side doing something horrible. But again, it's this widespread problem where you just don't see Democrats. You don't see Democrats like peddling in conspiracy theories and rumors.
But modern, I don't know how the modern Democrat Party has been. I haven't really kept up with it. And what I said was a broad blanket statement from both sides. But really, I'm talking about the Chuck Schumers and Pelosi's of the world. I think they're disingenuous, and I think they've been in the establishment long and haven't really made any real changes that were positive. Unless you want to call what Obamacare.
But again, it's this issue of proportionality where you can find Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi being disingenuous in the way that politicians often have to.
Yeah, they were the party leaders too at the time, though, but they're not anymore, I understand.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that, like, out of pragmatism, politicians often have to like maybe be more of a fence sitter than otherwise to try to reach across the aisle. So they might like not tell you how they really feel, like, oh, what do you think about this? Oh, I think we can find bipartisan solutions to this, when in reality what they think is, I hate these fucking Republicans and I don't want to give them a fucking inch, but I have to work with them. But if I say that, I won't get reelected, so I have to pretend to be more amicable about this stuff. We see that sort of disingenuous behavior on both sides. That is a both sides issue. That I will recognize.
Yes, 100%.
We're not, but we're not talking about that. You're not going to see Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or somebody like them peddling a bill that is going to destroy democracy in America under the guise of fixing a problem that's a non-issue. Like, that is a unique to Republicans issue, which is why
maybe not dismantle like the Constitution and like, but they've taken advantage of policies where they've benefited financially. I'm not saying Trump.
Again, you can find, yes, I don't like that our politicians trade in stocks. I don't like that some of them have enriched themselves. Even if we're to look at them enriching themselves, Donald Trump has enriched himself more as president than all of our sitting Democratic candidates, Democratic politicians have enriched themselves totally.
Either.
Yeah, but why are you bringing it up? Because we have a really one-sided problem here.
I think that's an issue when it's party leaders, and I'm not saying I'm for Trump, and I'm just saying it's an issue because they're party leaders.
But all of the party leaders support Trump, who's doing it so much more than any of those.
With them too.
Yeah, but it's like 100 times worse on the red side if we're going to measure it in terms of money. If we're going to measure it in terms of self-enrichment, violations to the emoluments clause, if you want to mention constitutional violations. It's a big, widespread problem on the right. And the right is willing to shine the spotlight on random things. I mean, I have to deal with people saying that Ilhan Omar, one of my representatives, enriched herself to the tune of $30 million because her net worth increased $30 million while she's been in office. Do you know how that happened? Do you know how she increased her net worth by 30?
I don't.
Have you heard?
Have you explained that either?
Have you heard that she did that?
No, I haven't really been keeping up.
Here's how she did that.
Married her cousin or something. Is what I heard recently.
Yeah, that's fucked up. She didn't marry her cousin. She did marry somebody who was worth $30 million, though. That increased her net worth by $30 million because of the way that...
that's real. Okay, yeah, I could see that's a legit.
But is that? Yeah, that's a legitimate way to increase your net worth by $30 million. You just marry somebody who's worth that, right?
Yeah, that's not an issue with me.
Right. So why does that get airtime? Why do you hear about accusations that she married her cousin, which is fucking ridiculous? Why do you hear all that when Trump has increased his net worth billions of dollars during his current term?
Yeah, just to slander, really, just to better advance the Republican Party.
Right, and I really am trying to harp on and get you to understand that there's this real disparity in how bad examples how bad the examples you can find on the left are versus how common and severe the examples are on the right, because you recognize that Trump's bad. You're not a Trump supporter, but you're still supporting his party. But I don't know what your support is for. I don't know if you have like some more conservative values in your heart that are what make you lean conservative, or
the one thing I like about Trump.
let me finish my my question here. I don't know if you're supporting the current party because the current party is loyal to him. Almost every single Republican in Congress is a traitor to this country because of their support for Trump. Trump's a traitor to this country. It's obvious. It's plain as day to anybody who knows the Constitution and has watched his actions. And the Republicans are, just like they're lying through their teeth about the SAVE Act, they are lying through their teeth about whether or not they think that what Trump is doing is allowable as president. They are just loyal to him, party over country. That's why he hasn't been impeached. That's why the votes are down the party line when it comes to his impeachments. There's a real problem here. So when you say you're still a conservative, I don't know what you mean. Do you have some religious values? Do you have some social values? Or do you actually think that the Republicans in Congress are the ones doing a good job? I'm not.
They're my values, and it's not really support for any. I have a few politicians that I like, and I have a few. They're from both parties. Like, I'm a fan of AOC. I'm a fan of Mandami. Like, I like people that actually do an action. I like people that are actually bringing ideas and actually implementing and trying to. I don't like people that just talk and just talk to talk.
Sounds to me like you recognize some of the degree to which this is about the rich versus the poor more than anything.
Yes, I think the biggest issue in America is probably I don't know what gap, like the rich versus poor though, really. Like, just the common working man is not paid a good enough living wage to live in this economy, and it's unnatural. I don't think
straightforwardly
like that.
It sounds. How old are you? Remind me how old you are.
27.
27. Okay, yeah, you're a little older than I remembered, but it seems to me like if you had a clearer perspective on what the Republicans and what the Democrats in this country were trying to do, you'd be a Democrat. Because if you recognize these sorts of concerns, and you keep bringing me these things about it being similar on both sides, but I have a pretty comprehensive view of how many examples of these things exist on both sides of the aisle. I think if you had so comprehensive a view of that as I do, I think you'd see that the Republicans are a really serious hindrance to the things that it sounds like you want. Because I agree with you about AOC and Mamdani. I think they're doing good things for working class people, which is what most people should care about in this country, even if you're not a working class person yourself, because the country does better when working class people succeed. And the Republicans have short-sightedly decided that their own lives are more important than that. Their own retirement, how well-lined their own pockets are. And that's a short-sighted view, especially in consideration of a lot of the people that we're talking about aren't going to be alive to see the consequences for the working man. Trump isn't. Do you think Trump's going to live to be 100?
No, I mean,
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, he might be tubed up in a bed somewhere. But I don't. Yeah, they're going to Mitch McConnell him all the way into the 22nd century. But no, I think these are a bunch of people who are only interested in their own lives and staying out of prison for things they did with Epstein and a bunch of shit like that. Like, I think that's fundamentally what their motivations are. And when a Republican representative or senator tells you that they're voting for you or they're trying to support your life, I just think they're lying. Whereas I think that AOC actually does want people to be successful. I think James Tallarico wants people to be successful. I think Mamdani wants people to be successful.
James Tallarico is interesting.
He is. I think he is.
I'm from Texas.
Okay, yeah. I think you should vote for him in November.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Paxton, I think. Yeah, I'm not a big pack. I mean, I hate both of them, Ted and. But Tallarico, he's interesting. I've been following him for a year now.
He hasn't taken any PAC money, and he really is running a platform that, to the best I can tell, is just a guy who wants everyday people to succeed in the same way that we see from Mamdani or AOC. And I think the proof is going to be in the pudding, because I believe him. He has convinced me that he is going to behave in office in the way that he says he's going to.
Yeah,
and I think we need more of that in the country.
He might get my vote, honestly. But no, okay, so you asked me so the core thing was, before Trump was elected president, was to make bills and stuff cheaper. He hasn't done that, but that was his claim on what he ran for and why I voted for him. And that's what I think that's one of the biggest issues, is the common working person. Their dollar is not enough for a living in this economy.
Yeah.
Another thing. Wait, hold on.
Go ahead. Oh, he's teacupped. I'll take a moment to remind everybody about the link tree in the bio. That's how you can find my Venmo. David found my Venmo, and he sent me $5 to say, if they can figure out how to register everyone for the draft automatically for free, they can register us to vote the same way. I agree. The only snag that has is, like, current address isn't important for selective service registration, but it is for voter registration because it gives you your voting district. So there's a counter argument to that. But I agree. The fact that we're willing to automate the draft, but not actually look at, not actually just do that for democracy, it's kind of concerning. And Scott sent me $20 to say, keep the inarticulate chuds on point. Doing my best. Thank you, Scott. And Tino sent me $5 to say, the new It's Both Sides is such a MAGA cop-out. They need to take accountability for blindly following without doing actual research. Now that it's affecting them and not just other people, they care. Yeah. He left. Goodbye, caller. I don't know why he left. But I'm gonna say W guest because I think he's trying. I really do. Carl sent me $10 on Buy Me a Coffee. No message, just $10. Thank you, Carl, for the $10. I appreciate it. And Scott sent me $5 on Cash App to say who backing in the primaries for governor and AG Minnesota here. AG, is it Ellison again? Raven, are we doing Ellison again? What's happening for AG? Shit. I do support Klobuchar for governor. One thing I talk about a lot when I talk about my actual endorsements is soft versus hard endorsements, and maybe especially in consideration of that conversation about Tellerico. Hard endorsements, when I say I give somebody a hard endorsement, I mean I actually am excited about them. I think that they actually want things that I want for the country. They're going to push the country in the direction that I want. And then a soft endorsement is a harm reduction vote where it's like, well, vote for Amy Klobuchar. It's her versus fucking Mike Lindell, the MyPillow conspiracy theorist who's like a Trump loyalist. Fucking obviously. Am I excited about Amy Klobuchar? Not even slightly. She's just another boring establishment Democrat who's not gonna, I mean, as governor, it's not like she's gonna be in Congress, like influencing our relationship with Israel or something, but like, nothing exciting to say about Amy Klobuchar other than her just being the obvious choice. Who's running for AG right now? I thought it was just gonna stay Ellison. I'll Google it quick, because I bet I have a similar, let's see. General election for Attorney General. I'm defaulting for the incumbent Keith Ellison because I don't think Dave has a chance, and I'm not going to vote for a Republican for that. Again, same thing. Just like it's not a hard choice because it's just between like another fucking loyalist to this treasonous party versus somebody else, and I don't want to split the vote. To get excited about somebody other than Keith Ellison. So I would say, again, soft endorsement for Keith Ellison on that. And that was obvious enough to me that I hadn't really... When you asked, I thought, is it more of a question than I remember it being? And Melissa sent me $2 on YouTube Super Chat to say, based advocate for America. That was a little earlier. And Rico Suave sent $2 to say, I'm 50, not tech savvy. I can't find your link tree. I bet somebody in the YouTube chat helped him out. Yeah, the link tree, I guess if you go to the YouTube, if you click on my face, like on the profile picture, it'll take you to my page, and there's like an about section where it gives a little description that has the link tree in it. But it's a little easier to find on some of the other platforms. If you just search Oskar Quentin on like Instagram or TikTok or something, it's like prominently at the top of the page. YouTube hides it just a little bit, and I keep forgetting to put it in the auto description for the live streams. My B. All right, let's get back to the multi-guest request queue. Enough yapping about the show. We're going to talk to Archie Scholbrook UM. May have spoken to this person before. I don't remember. Let's see if we keep the conversations going. How old are you?
No, I'm a friendly. I just accidentally tapped. I'm sorry.
No worries. W's in the chat for Archie for being a friendly. We're going to talk to Chris. We're going to see if he's a Trump supporter or if he meant to join on purpose or whatever. Nope, he didn't mean to join. Screechmiester, I actually remember I don't remember which one, but I remember being convinced he was going to screech into the microphone, and he didn't. Remind me how old you are?
55.
55, you're a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
What did we talk about?
I got off your show yesterday.
Yeah, you got what off the show yesterday?
I got 86 for saying killing and murder and stuff like that.
You're allowed to say killing and murder on my show. You must have, okay. I don't remember
what it was that I got kicked off for yesterday, but I couldn't come on until today.
Oh, it might have just been that you got like auto flagged, like TikTok might have given you the kick, and then I just banned that user, like not actually banned like through the account. I just say you have to come back a different day to protect my account. So yeah,
I think it was because I said something about Dean. your partner. I called him
Fairly
a
certain it
douchebag
was
or something.
a misinformation flag.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, so okay, that's what it was.
Well, what were we talking about?
Ilhan Omar, how I said she said something, but I'm not going to go there because.
Oh, that's right.
If I say anything more, I'll get flagged again for 24 hours.
I do remember the conversation now. We were working really hard to try to figure out what it was that she said. Did you go find the quote?
No, I couldn't find it. So obviously it was misinformation. So it is what it is, and I'm not going to say it anymore so I don't get flagged again.
Well, okay. I have an interesting question for you. Is the reason that you're not going to say it because you're going to get flagged, or is it because it's misinformation and you shouldn't go on lives and say misinformation? Which is it?
At this point, I can't say one way or another. I got to see if I can find it again.
Well, you said just a moment ago, you said that you couldn't find it and that it probably was misinformation.
It probably was. And until I say really for sure find that out, I'm not going to. Okay. I also had a lot going on yesterday after I got off the show. So
that's good. I'm
still going to push it.
Yeah, go ahead and I am never going to tell somebody to stop researching. If you want to keep digging and trying to find what she said, that's really good. My issue is that people will say things like here, I'm going to give you an example of the sort of thing. This is something that me and Raven were just talking about before the show started today, because I was talking about there's this garbage can fire that happened in Manhattan outside of an ICE facility, which, is illegal, destructive, but I don't think that the intention with the fire was to harm anybody. And I brought up an example I was involved with. I didn't set anything on fire, but I was present when some people set some fires on January 24th of this year, which is the day that Alex Preddy was shot. The headline read that protesters gathered around the site and started 2 fires and didn't allow the police had to escort firefighters in to put them out. And the reason I didn't like the headline is because anybody who listens to that is probably picturing structures burning, right? Like a store or a home or something. And I felt that was dishonest because it was 2 dumpsters that the protesters had rolled from the alleyway into the middle of the street and then lit on fire, which again, kind of similar to the garbage can thing. And yeah, because there was several blocks of the neighborhood were tear gassed and clogged up with protesters and law enforcement. Yes, the law enforcement had to guide the fire trucks to it. So I just felt it was a really dishonest thing. And as far as good trouble goes, I think in light of fascism, a fucking dumpster fire here or there's not actually that big a fucking problem. So somebody might go and say Oskar Quentin supports arson. And I would say, if somebody called into my show and said so-and-so supports arson because they said this comment about how it was unfair that this headline made it sound like something more serious happened than it did, that's the sort of thing where it's well, where's the quote of Oskar Quentin saying that he supports arson? Where's the quote of Oskar Quentin saying that you should go burn buildings down? Where's the quote of saying that all this destruction is good? Where's the quote of Oskar Quentin saying that all the fires that happened during the George Floyd riots was good? You're not going to find it because I don't think that. But there's a problem where the right will take a nuanced discussion, which was me just saying that I don't think the headline was very fair. I think that anybody who wrote that headline knew what they were doing in trying to sensationalize the story. They're going to take that and call me an arsonist, and then it finds its way through the grapevine, like this quote from Ilhan Omar. I'm sure she said something relating to that topic that got misquoted or twisted or misinterpreted or pushed in that sort of way, and it made it to you. So that's the sort of thing that we see happen a lot. I will say that that's one of the things both sides are a little bit guilty of. I think the right's more guilty of it, but it's a little more fair than some of the other issues. It's just why when you say that, when you call into a show fucking mad at a politician, you got to have heard it from their mouth, or otherwise you're just being somebody else's pawn.
I get that. That makes sense. Am I muted?
No, I don't mute. I don't mute on my show.
Okay, you can hear me. Yeah. The other question I was actually getting into yesterday, but I couldn't finish because you had to pop me off, was I was going to ask you, how come people are going off on ICE when they have 17 deaths, okay, and the cops have over 10K plus, if not approaching 20K across the nation? And it's over the same thing, because let me finish. The no good situation, she did what an LA cop did the very next day. Somebody in LA pointed the vehicle at the cop, and the cop came from the front in the same type of angle, and the cop puked her and put the person down. And that didn't get any attention whatsoever, but the ICE agent did. How come ICE gets more attention than law enforcement? And we just had one in our city the other day where a domestic situation happened. The guy came out firing at officers. Then they tased him and he fell to the ground and they still put a bullet in him. You get what I'm saying? Where law enforcement is still being dirty, but we're still after ICE. Why are we still saying fuck ICE when the cop, we should be saying more fuck the police because they got more deaths than ICE does. ICE is way, way less than the regular police department.
So I hear you. That sounds like a reasoned concern, and I have a lot of responses to it because you said a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to tackle it from a few different angles. First of all, there are far more police officers than there are ICE agents. There's something like 30,000 ICE agents, and in the country, there's like 1 or 2 million police officers, something like that. It's a much bigger number. So we first, of course, have to look at proportionality. We just have to see, like, is this an appropriate rate of unlawful, like force or whatever particular measure we want to use for the bad behavior. Furthermore, people like me are upset about the police. I just referenced a second ago that we had riots in my city because of police misbehavior, and we've actually had some decent reform since then. I like to celebrate that a little bit more than a lot of people on the left because I think we have made some steps in the right direction. But there's a bigger thing than that. Like we could just we could figure out the ratio of ICE officers to police officers and then multiply the numbers to say then if there were as many police officers as there are ICE agents, it's not 17 deaths or whatever. It's some hundreds or thousands of deaths. But that's not even the angle I need to take with it, because what you don't see is the leader of the police in the country saying that George Floyd should have died or that Derek Chauvin, should be protected. We don't see protection from the top, from the president, from the fucking Secretary of Defense or whoever. We don't see that sort of thing happen, because when there's bad behavior in policing, there at least is an ever-growing mechanism for people to be held accountable. So what's concerning to me isn't that there was a law enforcement death that I felt was wrong. Obviously, I'm talking about my own neighbors. Renee Good and Alex Preddy are people who lived very, very close to me. So like I can try to put aside my personal attachment to the fact that they shot some of my neighbors for doing things that I have done myself. The big issue is that you have the president disparaging these people's names. The president saying, he had Stephen Miller. He's not the president, but he's pretty close to the president. I would argue in certain domains he has more power than the president, because the president's a bumbling oaf who's not really checked into all these things. He lied on television and said that Alex Preddy was an assassin sent to cause maximum damage. That's the same sort of dishonest thing that I was just talking about with the dumpster fires. It's like, no. These aren't arsonists trying to burn down buildings. These are just...
think it's okay? So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you think it's okay to take that arsenal that he had in his backpack and take that to a rally, knowing that the possibility... He didn't
go to a rally.
Well, whatever he went to, he was protesting.
Well, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? If I take that with me, what am I going there for? Protection? Am I going there to cause drama?
I want to answer that because I think that maybe you're misunderstanding something about the circumstances of Alex Preddy's death, which is that he was doing what we call here rapid response, where it's not like there's an organized protest. Hey, everybody, we're protesting at noon, come to the courthouse. That's not the type of protest that he was at all. He was on a random street corner where his signal chat, his phone said, there's an ICE interaction happening, go film, go yell at them, whatever. That's what we did. That's what we still do to a lesser degree. It's just there's less ICE activity happening now. I was doing the same work at the same time. I live close enough that I was in the same signal chat as Alex Preddy. I found out that he was dead from my signal chat, not the news. I found out while CPR was still being performed on him, around about 9:05 that morning on the 24th, right? So what happens is I'm going about my day. I'm going, not this particular day, just in general. I'm going about my day, might be buying groceries, might be sitting at home, might be, hanging out with my friends, and I get a message that says, 3 blocks away, there's an ICE interaction. So I drop what I'm doing and I go. Regardless of... Do you think a person who's taken it upon themselves to just completely legally and constitutionally go to the place that this chat says that neighborhood observers have spotted this activity so you can go and film and blow your whistle, do you think that because somebody is doing that constitutionally protected behavior, they no longer have the Second Amendment right to bear arms?
No, I mean, right at this moment in time, no. I'm totally against the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. I think they should be abolished. If you get rid of ICE, you abolish both of them. Because to me, ICE is doing what they're getting paid to do. Okay, they may need more training. I'll agree with you on that. They need law enforcement training.
So wait, just straightforwardly, You don't believe in the Second Amendment. That's why it was wrong for Alex Preddy to be carrying a firearm, and that makes it okay that he died? Is that where we are?
Because I think too many, I think the First and Second Amendment is getting blown way out of proportion. I think we need to get rid of it. That's just my opinion. And it'll never happen. It's, no one's ever going to abolish either one of those because it's everybody's right to do that. But to me, I think that people like, for instance, let me use this as an example. My sister has a disease that she takes too far. Do you see what I'm saying? It's because of this that I did that. It's because I did of this, I did this.
Hold on.
And that, to me, they're using it as an excuse.
I'm gonna. Obviously, I think that what you just said is really bad. You can see the chat is kind of blowing up. So, but no, you're being. I'm gonna do something that I do on this show, which is that even though I think that what you just said is utterly reprehensible, I appreciate that this is a functional conversation and we're having an effective back and forth. So I'm just gonna keep it at that tone because I think that that's more productive. I have some criticisms of both the First and Second Amendment. Something I've said before on this show, and I'll say again, I'll say it now, is that the Founding Fathers had never seen an AK-47, and they might have written a different Second Amendment if they did, nor did they ever see what social media has become in the 21st century, and they might have written a different First Amendment if they had, because they were picturing the town square, they were picturing the street corner, but the street corner now is TikTok. I'm sitting on top of my soapbox, but instead of a physical box on a street corner, it's this rectangle that everybody's viewing me through on their home device. But the First Amendment doesn't protect me here because I have to obey TikTok's rules. The First Amendment protects TikTok's right to platform this conversation or not. We dealt with that yesterday. That's why you got flagged. If it was up to me, and if it was up to the First Amendment, you'd have stayed on the show yesterday. But I have to obey their rules because this isn't the public square. This is a private square. This is their...
That's why I came back, because I knew it wasn't you.
Right. So it sounds to me like we agree that there are some problems with the First and Second Amendment in the 21st century. Can we call that some common ground?
Hey, this is the first time, like Dean, I couldn't even get him to understand that. I got you to fully understand there is some problems with the First and Second Amendment. Right.
Okay. So here, that's point one. Point two, I'm going to use kind of a nasty word, but I'm not trying to elevate to a heated place. It's just a word that I think is the appropriate one here, which is that I think you're being a little bit of a spoiled brat because you don't realize... I don't know if you own firearms. I'm not particularly concerned with the day-to-day life that people lead because of the Second Amendment. But the First Amendment, thank you, TikTok, for turning down the volume on this bullshit that's over my head. I don't think that you realize the degree to which the First Amendment protects the life that you get to live, and the problems that you have with it are quite small. I think that you take for granted the life that you get to live because of the First Amendment, and doing away with it instead of potentially maybe reforming the way that free speech works in this country, which is something that I could see happening in the next couple decades. Like I think we might be due a couple of amendments to correct some of these issues. But I recognize that most of what the First Amendment does for us is so very good and so very important to the life that we live that even in situations where I feel like it's problematic, just getting rid of it would make the situation way, way, way worse.
No, you might. I mean, yeah, you're right. Getting rid of it could cause more problems, or it could solve a lot of problems.
But if it got rid of the First Amendment, Trump could arrest me the next day for what I'm doing. He might.
Well, Trump arrests anybody for anything anyway, so...
Well, no, he has to fight these legal battles, and he has to pick his battles, because if he tried to do everything day one, if he just tried to turn this into Nazi Germany on day one with an even bigger pile of executive orders or whatever... he'd face backlash. He'd face people coming out and switching sides and saying, no, First Amendment above everything else. I can't support this president. So the First Amendment is one of the things plugging the holes in this ship. It's one of the things that's giving us a chance to stay in this discourse long enough to affect change. I think that, like, if you can say that the First Amendment gets like negative 20 points for not handling some of this stuff very well, I think it still gets 150 points for making it so that you and I get to have this conversation in the public in front of 1,000 people without getting in trouble for it.
But don't you think, for instance, if we're sitting in a grocery store and I'm minding my own business, and for instance, you come around a corner and you bump me and then I start going off on you, and all of a sudden we start getting in a fist fight, don't you think in certain aspects, me or someone that uses, hey, fuck you, motherfucker, and started a fight, why should you, if you beat my ass, you go to jail, but I don't?
There's actually some like legal jurisdictions in the country where there's something called fighting words. where you can say something to somebody that according to that local jurisdiction is the start of the fight. I'm not super educated on it. Maybe if Law of the Wild's watching, he can hop up and explain it to us better. But there are some places where that sort of thing is allowed, and I kind of like the idea of that being like left to the states, because I think that there are mechanisms of speech that, in the sense that you just brought up, like shouldn't be protected. Like we have laws against things like hate speech and libel, where you can use your words in a way that do violate somebody else's rights in such a way that it's no longer protected. So there are legal mechanisms for that. But doing away with the First Amendment, if it maybe makes you able to defend your honor in the grocery store, I don't think that that's a good enough ends to justify the means of abolishing the first.
No, I think we should. If we're not going to abolish it, I think we need to reform it, like you said.
You've gone. There's a lot of background noise, and your vocal quality's gone down. Did you just connect a Bluetooth device?
Hang on, let me get cops turned down. Hang on,
no, it's better now. You're back.
Yeah, live PD. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, again, I think that that's a much smaller consideration than in general what the First Amendment is doing for us.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of things where I believe the First Amendment is used as an excuse sometimes for people's actions, and I think that's what I was coming up to talk with more yesterday, trying to say.
Well, the First Amendment doesn't protect you from consequences. Like that's why a lot of the First Amendment protects you from the government. The government isn't allowed to legislate on the sort of speech that you're able to say unless it bumps into other people's rights in some of the ways that we covered. And they have to be very careful about how they legislate that sort of thing. But one of the reasons I ask people to turn their camera on, if I think that they're being disingenuous, is because I think a lot of people come up and say things on my show that they're not willing to have associated with who they are among the people in their life, their friends and family. And it's not that it really accomplishes anything for me to have a face match to it. It just prevents people who aren't taking the show seriously from spending time on it if I insist that people turn on their camera. But the thing that when people refuse to turn on their camera and they use that as an excuse to get off the show and they say, oh, Oscar's running because he wants me to turn my camera on. What's going on there is that they're recognizing that the First Amendment doesn't protect them from consequences in their life from saying the things they say. It doesn't stop their girlfriend from leaving them. It doesn't stop their family from, being mean to them at Thanksgiving. It doesn't stop their friends from saying like, that's not cool. It doesn't stop their coworkers from not wanting to bring them out to Taco Tuesday because they say such reprehensible things online. It doesn't stop their employer from necessarily not, having judgments against them that affect their career path. Like, there are consequences for the things that you say. The First Amendment doesn't protect you from that. It just protects the government from making it illegal for you to say the things that you want to say. And I think that that's really important, because this government would absolutely have made my show illegal if they could.
So then let me ask you another question, because now I know the other part of the Ilhan Omar thing I wanted to ask you about yesterday. Okay, now that we're into this, Donald Trump, go back to that speech that he gave. Ilhan Omar is sitting in the upper deck or wherever she was sitting, okay? And any other president, and you know that, you have to know that for a fact. You have to know that George Bush, you have to know that Ronald Reagan, you have to know that Richard Nixon, etc., Jimmy Carter, whatever, would have arrested her for interrupting a president of the United States address, whether you like the person or you don't. That right there was sabotage. That was a malicious act towards the president. To me, she should have been arrested and charged right then and there. Secret Service should have arrested her, because you were not allowed to interrupt the president of the United States, period, no matter who it is, whether it's Bush or Trump. You're not allowed to do that. Would you apply that standard equally to the Republicans who interrupted and yelled at Biden and Obama? Because it also happened. Yes, sir. Okay, so it sounds like you think that the rules should be different, but why are you talking about Ilhan Omar? I didn't say they should be different. I said yes, if you interrupt any president. Well, I didn't like Biden. I think you misunderstood what I just said. I was agreeing with you. I was saying it sounds like, I don't actually agree with you about what the rule change would be. I'm just saying at least you're consistent. It just thinks that you just think that the rules for interrupting should be different. So I ask this question. Why are we still talking about Ilhan Omar when this is a thing that both Republicans and Democrats do? Why are you bringing her up and saying she should be arrested? Because she was the most recent that's more upfront in the media all the time. Do you get what I'm saying? You just hit the nail on the head. I'm not saying that wait, you just said something really important. She's the most recent. That's not the most interesting thing you just said.
up front in the media. Why are you letting the media decide what's important to you?
That's not what I was trying to mean. What I'm saying is,
no, but it's what you said. You said that the reason you're focusing on her is because the media is showing you her. And I'm sitting here saying that you can find examples of Republicans doing that to Biden and Obama, but Fox News isn't going to show you that. So
no, because Fox News is biased on certain things.
Well, I don't know if you watch Fox News, but I think you get my point. When you tell me that she's centered in the media, it suggests to me that the media that you're watching is giving you a very biased lens on all of this, which is kind of how we started. You know, you brought me this, what I think was misinformation about Ilhan Omar supporting something that I don't think she supports. I offered an example of the sort of way I think she probably said something like on that topic, but got misconstrued. And here you are again, bringing her up because the media showed you an example of her doing something that you don't like. And you can say you don't like politicians doing that. You could say that you think decorum needs to be respected in the halls of our Congress and that there should be consequences for violating it. You can say that across the board. I could sit and talk about whether or not I think that's like important to adjust about how we do discourse in the country. But just listening to the way that you talk about it, I find it so much more important to address that what I felt like was a real slip from you, which is that you said that the reason you brought her up is because the media shows you her. And I genuinely think that you're a person whose perspective on all of this is so deeply colored by a media conglomerate and machine that you don't understand. I don't think you understand the degree to which the mainstream media, newspapers and cable television networks and stuff like that are really working hard to make sure that your perspective on this is colored in the way that they want. And social media even does the same thing. I like to use the analogy that people like me have to swim upstream. I'm entertaining. People like the show. People are paying for the show to be successful so I can give it all my time. But if I was just a pure grifter and I wanted to be successful, I'm on the wrong team, because it's easier to make money and be successful on these platforms if you're on the right, because the algorithms are disproportionately beneficial to those sorts of creators. So I have to fight against the trend of this massive media conglomerate, TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or whoever. And I'm very aware of that. I spend time engaging with that and studying that and looking at analytics about it and looking at the research papers that people release about how biased the YouTube algorithm is to promote right-leaning content and all that stuff. And that gives me my worldview about what's going on in terms of people like you, who I don't think are doing that work, who are falling for some of it. I don't think you realize the degree to which you're falling for it.
I think I fell off of paying attention more to it after the person that I really supported got, and that everybody's focused on these 2 or 3 incidents that happened with ICE compared to what happened to our side of the fence. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, our side of the fence seems to get pushed more, like Charlie Kirk got pushed more. Our J6 people got pushed more to the side and don't get enough respect and due process. Like,
are you aware that one of our lawmakers here in Minnesota, Melissa Hortman, was shot to death in her sleep in her bed with her husband last year, the same calendar year that Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
I never heard of that. What, in Minneapolis? See, now that I didn't hear about.
What do you think is more important, the assassination of Melissa Hortman or the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Which is a more severe and extreme example of violence affecting our politics?
Well, now you're going to learn something about me. I don't believe anybody should be shot.
Great.
Okay,
That's great.
I don't believe anybody. I don't care if I hate your guts.
That's
that doesn't
great.
give me a right to go to your show and open fire on you.
That's great.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. That's great. But we're talking about the way that the media has colored your perspective on this. And you're talking about stories like J6 and Charlie Kirk. But you're not aware that like an elected official was assassinated? This person went to her home, shot her and her husband, went to a different elected official, shot him and his wife. They were luckier and survived. And he was apprehended before going to his 3rd target, and he had a list of 6. He was trying to sweep our politics in Minnesota of our blue representation. Somebody tried to flip the board on politics in Minnesota with the barrel of a gun, and they succeeded by murdering Melissa Hortman. And that story gets still to this day, gets less attention on mainstream media.
That I didn't know. And to me, I believe the left deserves to be represented, and I believe the right deserves to be represented. Everybody deserves to be represented. I don't believe we should go pick off
Right. You can say that. That's nice. I'm glad you feel that way.
Believe me or not. You know what I mean?
I believe you when you say that, but I think here's where I'm going to push back. I don't think that you're exercising enough personal responsibility, because I think it is partially your fault that you didn't know that, because you're listening to the wrong media. Because if you're listening to media that has, topics like January 6th and Charlie Kirk as things that you say are coming up a lot in the media, but you're not aware that an elected official was assassinated in the state of Minnesota last year, you're watching the wrong news, or you're not watching enough news.
Actually, this is where you're also going to come at me.
We'll see.
I also told Dean that I believe Minneapolis should just go to Canada. I shut off anything in Minneapolis. I shut my head off about. I don't, because of certain politicians, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, et cetera.
Okay. So here we are in this conversation where I feel like the media has really colored your opinion of those individuals in a way that's unfair. You're not aware that we've faced political assassinations here in Minnesota, and you're saying that like we're such a shitty place that we belong in Canada. I'm going to take an interesting direction on this that I take sometimes. Are you familiar with Human Development Index?
Kind of, but not really.
It's like it's like a general measure of societal well-being. It has to do with like, quality of education, quality of healthcare, of food availability, just like how much does it suck to live here. And we can look at a list of countries. It's a pretty good list. You've got like the expected, like super wealthy countries up at the top, and then kind of like a top third of countries that are like generally democratic, disproportionately socially democratic. A lot of the America doesn't even rank very poorly. We're tied for 17th among 200 countries, roughly 200 countries. So we do pretty good. But I like looking at the states, how they rank on HDI, because there's an HDI ranking for each of the states. And much like with the list for the countries, at the very tippy top, we see a couple of states that are, I always forget which ones it is. It's like Massachusetts and New Hampshire or something, Connecticut or something like that. There's two states that are small, disproportionately wealthy states in New England, which are kind of outliers in the same way that Switzerland ranks really highly on HDI, but it's because like a lot of people use it as a store of wealth. So it's like a super disproportionately prosperous, tiny country. Not really a good example to look at. But third on HDI in the United States is Minnesota. It's a big state. It's a purple state. We tend to lean blue for like the big elections, but it is like 49-51. We have that urban-rural divide. It's a red state with a couple of blue dots in it, namely the metro area, St. Cloud, Rochester, and Duluth are four like major metropolitan areas, if you can call them that. My point is, in spite of what you've heard about Tim Walz or Ilhan Omar, which we've established is just really, really not a very clear picture of it, the data suggests that it's fucking lovely here. And I live here, and I agree.
All right.
Is that meaningful to you? Like, why do you think that Minnesota sucks so much? Is it because of what the news has said about people like Ilhan Omar and Walz? Like,
I've been to Minnesota, okay? And I went there for Farm and Fleet as I had a job in Illinois. I went to there, and they have a facility there that they... you do a 2-week training, so they pay for you to fly there, land there, whatever, and stay there and go to classes there for 2 weeks. The whole time I was there, we all got treated like crap and couldn't wait to get out of Minneapolis. We'd go to Mall of America and got treated like shit the whole time.
No, Mall of America sucks. I hate the Mall of America. I'm a New Yorker, and I hate Times Square, the sorts of like conspicuous... Like I grew up in New York. I lived there for 20 years, and we can point to places like the observation deck of the Empire State Building or Times Square or whatever the fuck else and be like, oh, this is like what a shitty tourist trap where people are rude and trying to grift you. And that's just not a good perspective. I live in Minnesota, and I have for 10 years, and I've been to the Mall of America like 10 times, mostly just to like pick something up from a store and leave. Do you think that your time at the Mall of America is going to be like an accurate representation of what quality of life is like for working people here?
You would think, because that's a big, that everybody across the United States talks about it.
Yeah, and everybody across the United States talks about the shining lights of Times Square and Broadway in New York. Do you think that life in New York is represented by a walk through Times Square?
Not really.
It's the same thing about the Mall of America. We make fun of the Mall of America. We make fun of the fact that people want to go to the Mall of America to learn what life is like here, because life is not like what it's like at the Mall of America. The Mall of America is the Mall of America. It's a fucking mall. It tells you what malls in America are like. It's a business. It's not a community. It's not the sort of place I might go sit and play my guitar and make friends in the parks here. It's not the sort of place I might go for a multi-mile run with my dog, because we have like greenways and bike paths that like snake through the city in a way that make it so that you can navigate it on foot in a way that's enjoyable and safe from like vehicle traffic. Like, there's all this stuff that affects quality of life in Minnesota that I really value that people like you don't get shown. And you're judging us by a mall that we hate.
Well, I guess it was left a bad taste in my mouth, and then certain politicians have left kind of maybe added more intenseness to it, but it is what it is. I mean, I can't change it, and it's to me how Minnesota is going to be. You know what I mean? When I go back.
So, but again, I'm trying to put the burden on you because I believe, in spite of you believing some horse shit that I find despicable, straightforwardly, it does seem to me like you want to have an accurate worldview. I detect that there's something. I don't actually detect any disingenuousness from you.
Well, what I want is the truth. I don't want, there's your truth, my truth, and the truth. There's three different sides to every story, and that's the truth.
So you've got me. I live here. I've lived here for 10 years. I'm talking to you about some data, the HDI. We've got a lot of Minnesotan viewers who watch my show. The chat is lighting up with other Minnesota institutions that people actually really do appreciate, like Paisley Park, because we're so proud of Prince's history here. The Chanhassen Dinner Theater, like that. All that stuff are the institutions that matter to us. I love the food here. I love the music scene here. I love the art museums here are incredible. I feel so privileged that I moved away from New York and I still have a city that I live in where I get to choose from all these things to go to, even if it's on a smaller scale from New York. I get to experience that culture. So what I want to put back on you is like, I think that you might come to some more reasonable conclusions about this stuff if you change your information diet, because you've demonstrated that your information diet's super biased, because you've brought me some stuff that's obviously wrong about Ilhan Omar and about the state that I live in. And I think that if you care as much about this stuff as it seems to me that you do, you need to start broadening your reach. If you're going to watch cable news networks, you got to watch more than one of them. You got to watch like a dozen of them and switch around and be like, wow, CNN really disagrees with Fox on what the tone of this speech was. Maybe I should go watch the speech myself so I can just judge with my own eyes and ears. I think you're in a position where a much more careful approach to the information that you take in would really do a lot for you.
Well, I'm definitely didn't vote in the primaries because I'm sitting back doing what you just said right there. I'm processing. I'm sitting back watching and listening so that I know that when I vote red, I'm voting red for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. And if I go blue and outside my dialogue and my normal, then I'm doing it for all the right reasons. You understand what I'm saying? Because I felt like I was pretty much forced to vote for Trump because there was nobody else worthy for the vote, and that's why I voted for Trump.
Well, given the things that you've said about Ilhan Omar, I worry that your opinion of Kamala Harris is not a very reasonable one, and that it might be reasonable given the things that you think are true about her, but I think you probably think some things about her that are nonsense. Because any news organization that told you the things you brought me about Ilhan Omar is probably not going to speak honestly about Kamala Harris. I think there's a racism and a misogyny problem in those sorts of media outlets, and I expect to have the same problem there.
And why don't you ask me some questions about Kamala and I'll answer them. I'll tell you what, it'll show you why I didn't vote for her. I know exactly what I was voting for if I was going to get Kamala.
Well, let's just talk about the options for a second. Donald Trump has a history of bankrupting his businesses, defrauding the charities that he's run, which is why he's not allowed to run for charities in New York allowed to run charities in the state of New York anymore. He's been sued for so many fucking things it's hard to keep track at this point. He was sued for being a racist landlord in New York. They did tests of trying to get people to rent his properties, and they denied applications of black people. That's fucked up. He has said some really questionable things about women and underage women, girls, on Howard Stern and in the Access Hollywood tapes. He was found civilly liable of doing something bad to a woman. There's like this big pile of stuff that suggests to me that he's not the type of leadership that we need. And then if we look at Kamala Harris, people mean it very objectively when they say that she was the most qualified presidential candidate that we've ever had. There's three branches of the government that all work different, like independently of each other and in some different ways. And because of her history as a senator She had time in the legislative branch because of her history as AG. That's the judicial branch, if I'm not mistaken, or is that executive? My point is, she's had so many fucking titles, I can't even keep it straight. And she's worked in all three branches of the government. And she's been doing that for her entire life. She's gone to school for it. She's a lawyer. She doesn't have this track record of fucking up any of these projects. She has a track record of succeeding at everything that she tries to do. And that's before I can say all about that about the two of them without even getting to their politics, without even getting to which issues each of them is going to push. So with that being my rough understanding of their qualifications of candidates, without even bringing up policy, because I think that when there's such a disparity in the character of the two candidates, policy becomes less important because we just need to elect somebody who's going to steer the ship responsibly and safely, even if it's into the wrong waters. Like that's secondary to just keeping the ship itself functioning. What convinced you that it's the other way around?
Basically, Ronald Reagan in his speeches. So I've been a Republican since the Ronald Reagan era. So I believe the Republicans have been like what Ronald Reagan is saying, for the better good. But who is this guy right here? I've never heard this before with the Republicans. This something Gomez, he said right here. Because I didn't vote for this. It says all Republicans voted to merge our military with Israel except for Thomas Massey. What is he talking about there? Because I never heard that. I never heard that as a Republican.
I'm sorry. You went right back to policy. I said,
Gomez did. Gomez did. I said, what the hell is he talking about? Gomez did, not me. He's the one that said it in the chat.
I don't know how we get from Reagan to you saying that everything I just said leaves you with Trump as the only sensible option for the president.
Because I didn't trust in Kamala, or I didn't have enough information with her, even as the vice president. I didn't have enough information to put my trust in her. Okay, me right now, I'm at one of those things where the only reason why I want January 6th of next year to get here real quick is because I already know what's going to happen in November. It's going to turn blue, and you guys are going to go and find a way to impeach Donald Trump by April next year. And this misery of all the protests and everything's going to go away. Because everybody's going to back.
I'm just not understanding why you voted for Trump. That's where I was trying to go.
I believed in Trump. I've believed in Trump since he was on The Apprentice. I believed in Trump since the day I met him in Chicago with Obama. I don't know, everything that Trump's done, I believed in.
Right, and that you're confirming what my concern about you was, which is that you let the TV convince you that these people are entertaining enough, or like.
Oh, I met Trump in person with Obama.
So what?
I used to live in Chicago, so you know what I mean. I got to see all of.
Yeah, I grew up in New York. I walked past him on the street once, and that was kind of neat. That was before he was a politician. He was another celebrity rich guy who lived in my neighborhood when I grew up in Lower Manhattan.
I just believed in Trump. I mean, my belief in him now is slowly going. You know what I mean? I just think the war needs to be over. It's just a senseless war now. Either need to go destroy Iran and just put an end to it.
I just gave a big description about Trump's history, some of his character issues, some of his legal issues, some of his issues with the companies that he's run. And then I brought up a list of qualifications of Kamala Harris. Chat was quick to correct me. AG's executive branch. What did she do in the judicial? Was she a judge? I can't even remember. I mean, she was a lawyer. That's working.
I think she was an AG.
But that's executive. Anyway, not important. Her resume is very, very long and impressive. Longer and more impressive than really any political candidate for president ever in the country before. Like if you believe the words that I just said about the two of them, and had heard that speech in November of 2024, would it have swayed your vote? Would you have weighed it?
I would have waited, yes.
Prosecutor, that's what she was. I couldn't fucking remember.
I was close, and yes, I had my pin when I was voting on Kamala Harris, because I was thinking about really whether, as much as I do sound red and sound ignorant on my vote, I did have my ink on Kamala Harris, and I was close. It's just...
If you were close and you've learned in this call and the one yesterday,
I probably would circle her in, and I probably would have voted for her.
Well, it sounds to me like that makes you not a Trump supporter. Because it sounds to me like you recognize you should have voted for the other person.
You kind of changed it on that. I should have voted. because I was close.
Yeah. But I think the bigger thing here is that in my time that I've spent talking to you, it seems like the more you get accurate information about what's happening in the world, the more you see that you should be voting for blue candidates right now.
Right now, I guess, even if they were the shit blue, I would vote for him just so they could get him out of office, so we could just end the protesting, end the horse shit, reform ICE, and move on. Because you can't abolish ICE completely. You need to reform them, train them better, and make better, accurate decisions.
Well, I'll point out that, like, this is another thing about that, like, I feel is a little bit unfair in terms of how people who are in my neighborhood of the political spectrum get represented on the TV, is they'll say things like, people like Oskar Quentin want to open the borders. They want to abolish ICE forever. The reason I want to abolish ICE is not because I don't think that we should have immigration and customs enforcement. I want to be very clear. Do you understand that? Was that obvious to you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the reason we need to abolish ICE and replace it with a different organization that has the same mission statement is because I think that every single person who works for ICE is a traitor. Because if you're sweeping floors for the Nazis in 1938, you are an accomplice to genocide. You are an accomplice to fascism, and you should have quit your job. You should have stopped participating, regardless of the personal cost to you. I think that that's just fundamental to how I think we need to judge people who've participated in these things. So if we're going to need all new employees, if we're going to need I only want people who don't fail that ethics test working at our Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, which is why I think we need to abolish and start over with the program, which isn't even all that dramatic a thing to do, especially in consideration of the fact that ICE was only established in the post 9/11 period where the federal government was given much more broad support to create these sorts of federal enforcement programs. DHS as a whole was created and expanded during that time. So the idea that we biffed it and we need to make adjustments is like not all that alien. We did that when we started the country, and we signed the Declaration of Independence and became an independent nation from England, and then we lasted 13 years before the states were like, this is ridiculous, none of our politicians take each other seriously, the states aren't listening to the federal government, we need to redo this. So we did the Constitutional Convention and we started over. So the idea of doing something drastic like that to address this problem does not at all mean that people on the left like want to get rid of ICE. It's just that we think they're so fucking evil they need to go to prison, and we need something new. But I think that you and I are the type of people who could sit down and have a reasonable conversation about what that should look like if we do get something.
I could coffee with you. I could probably sit down and drink coffee with you. I'm sure if we got heated, we could bring it back down to a reasonable tone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I don't blame other hosts for getting heated for you. You've been drinking the Kool-Aid, and it's making you vomit up some awfully strange colored vomit, because you don't value the First Amendment, which I think shows that you take for granted what our system of governance has done for you in your life. I think that you discredit Minnesota because of rumors about our politicians instead of knowing anything about us or our quality of life or what the community's like here in the Twin Cities. And that's a shame.
Between you and Dean, okay? Dean is too left that you cannot even have a conversation with him and meet him in the middle.
I'm farther left than Dean.
Huh?
I mean, who knows how each of us really feel? We all have to talk through a filter. But in terms of the way that we present on our show, I'm farther left than Dean.
Well, Dean is to me, he has no happy medium where he can sit and meet you and talk to you about it and kind of do this and that. He just straight goes at you, and I was like, okay, fine. And you want to come at me, then you're a douchebag, and I got off his show. That was it. I never talked to him again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value in people having different approach to these conversations and debates, and I think that Dean has a very different strategic approach to these conversations. And I even announced, just to appease my audience a little bit, when you said the thing about the First and Second Amendment earlier, where I basically had to remind everybody, hey, I think that's very monstrous, but I don't actually think it's very constructive for me to just bite this guy's head off, because he's, like you just said, I think you and I could sit at a table and have a cup of coffee without yelling at each other. And that means that's more effective at finding common ground. That's more effective at, to quote the chat from earlier, somebody said that you need to unboomer your views, and I agree. I think you do need to unboomer your views. I think you're still stuck on Reaganomics, which didn't work. Somehow you decided to vote for a rapist instead of the most qualified presidential candidate that we've ever had in this country, because of something of some allure that you had for a party that Reagan himself wouldn't recognize at all. And I just, it all keeps coming down to the same thing, which is that everything that you bring me is based in a worldview that makes perfect sense to me if you're watching a lot of cable news, but doesn't make very sense to me if we're looking at the real world, which is what I try to do on this show.
I don't know. I guess I was still born and I came out of that Gen X generation that if you yell and scream at your mother or dad in a grocery store, that they'll turn around with that graduation ring that they have on their finger and pop you right in the middle of the forehead. And you have two choices that time: continue to scream, yell and scream, or shut the fuck up and adhere to what they're telling you. Okay, I believe that there are certain things that got taken away from parents that should still be in, parents should be able to do like they did, mine did. Will put their hand under water and slap your bare ass. Because there's some kids that are out of control. We had less murders back then compared to now. We have more murders now because people are lightening up the laws and regulations. You get what I'm saying? That's where I'm coming from. I
think you need to really change your approach to this information, because everything you say has this sensationalized lens to it that's so obvious to someone like me, because I just don't pay much attention to that sort of sensationalized dialogue about stuff.
Well, then how would
the murder rate isn't even. I'm pretty sure the murder rate's down.
No, there's more murder. There's more murders now than there was back then.
But that's because the population's gone up.
Yeah, a lot of people are fucking more now than they were back then. I guess they were more.
Well, it's just with a larger population. Like the murder rate is measured by murders per 100,000 people is usually the indication. We're looking at a graph of it right now. It's tipped up slightly in the last couple of years.
Listen to that's the first time.
Yeah, I think that's
the first time now that they listen to the politicians.
Okay, so let's look at the murder rate in some major cities, right? Like, here's the 10 largest U.S. cities with a line for each of them.
I've got two my cities in there on the top 10. Denver.
New York had a problem in the 90s, but look at this, man. Even if we cut off New York, even if we look at that, we said Los Angeles and Chicago have cut their murder rate to half or a third of what it was. Why did you think it was higher?
Just because every time I turn on the TV, there's someone being shot and killed, and they're talking about it. I guess, once again, like you said, maybe it's the media.
Right. They can show you. People are murdered in this country every single day. I could run a 6 o'clock news show and start every episode by covering the murders that have happened in the 24 hours since the last time I did the roundup. And that, to somebody who watches that when they eat dinner every day at 6 o'clock, they might think, oh my God, what is this country coming to? There's so much violence. There's so much murder. But that's just not what's actually going on. If I'm to give you advice about how to navigate all this information, I might have to land back at the idea that you just need to get better educated about how to judge this information. Why would you look at an anecdote instead of data about murders happening?
Or maybe I should just do like I did last year during the election, not give a shit and stay at the sports,
Well,
they watching sports and not have to worry about it. Maybe not vote.
Well, I would rather uneducated people not vote than guess, essentially, because you're just trusting the news to have colored your opinion in a way that's going to make you vote reasonably. And it's a little controversial for me to say that people should abstain from voting if they're not educated. But if you can recognize that you're this lost on that might be my advice for you, is to not vote until you do know what's going on. I, of course, would urge you to vote blue if you trust me, but I don't know if you do trust me.
Do you trust Lori? If what she's saying, they cut it in half.
Lori?
From the 80s to the 429, 100K in 2025.
With the murder rate?
She's saying, Lori in your chat, she said that 836 per 100K in 1980s and 429 per 100K in 2025.
I wouldn't trust that sort of information from a TikTok chat, but that does sound about right.
Yeah.
You said that the murder rate was up, and I said that I'm pretty sure it was down. My producer was already on the side screen bringing up data about it because that wasn't right. But again, it's just, you can just point to anecdotal examples. It's like when people say that illegal immigrants are dangerous. There's 12 million of them. Of course you can find new stories about an illegal immigrant doing something bad. It'd be bizarre if you couldn't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't mean that they're more dangerous.
I guess you proved your point to a point. You know what I mean?
No, I think that I don't want to overwhelm with you by harping on it, and you've come back and you've been cordial. So I think I'm going to end the conversation here, but I am just going to invite you to, like, if you have a claim like the murder rate's going up, look at the murder rate. You know.
But you can't always trust what's going on the internet either, too. Because sometimes you get a spam, you think it's a legit thing, and then you hit it in a spam, and then it sends you all over your phone. You know what I mean? So sometimes all you have is the media outlet.
Well, you have to learn where to get good data, and that's complicated. And I don't have a straightforward answer on that. But I think that what you need to do first, and this is what I tell everybody, is to watch more stuff. Because if you just watch one news station, you're not gonna see the inconsistencies. Whereas if you watch both Fox and CNN, you're gonna see them disagree about their telling of things, and that will at least prevent you from being sure that it's one way or the other. That'll create the sort of skepticism within you that might motivate you to go digging, or I don't know, call up Oskar Quentin on his show and say, where should I look for this data? Because I you know, it seems to me like you probably think I'm operating in good faith here, and I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. And I have some academic expertise that makes me reasonably good at finding a good source for something, but it is hard to advise somebody on how to do it because I spent like a decade learning how to do it for all these different topics. There's no straightforward ask these people, they're the best, you know. Are we talking about a US election being called? That's AP, you know. Are we talking about like how the international community is responding to a foreign policy decision from Trump? I'd probably listen to the BBC on that. I don't like listening to domestic sources on that sort of thing. So it's complicated, but you got to just become far more wary. You need to be more agnostic. I'm often agnostic to things I don't have good information on, and you need to be much more comfortable in that sort of space.
I would tell them I wish I could go back to work. Tell them to get colon cancer and see if they go back to work, and let them serve McDonald's so you wouldn't do it.
What's happening?
They're sitting there saying I should go back to work. I can't go back to work. That's in your chat. You know what I mean? I wish I could, but when you get both the colon bags, there's nothing. You know what I mean?
Don't take the chat too seriously. People are going to get their digs in. Just listen to what I'm telling you, which is that I think you've got the right assignment. I think you've recognized that your information diet is fundamentally the problem here.
All right. You get the next guy up, so I get a chance to grill on him now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hop in the chat and get your licks in. Thanks for coming up, screechmiester. I'm going to read the donations. Interesting conversation. I believe that to be good faith, that guy. I'm going to read the Venmo donations first. We got Carter. He sent me $5 to say, what's your thoughts on Rob Sand running in Iowa? He seems like a perfectly good candidate. We talked to Iowa Golfer about that a lot. I think he's the right choice in a very boring, he's not the Republican who supports Trump kind of way. So, Yeah, he does get some airtime on the show. Ryan sent $5 to say, I figured it out. Thank you for being awesome. I hope you blow up like Parker or Dean. Thank you. I think he's the guy who was looking for the link tree over in the YouTube chat. Hopefully somebody helped him out. And then Morgan sent me $30 on Venmo. Just starting the stream. The first guy was sad. Had an idea. Maybe other than kicking the slur ops, maybe we mute and see if they want to come on cam to talk and kick them regardless of what they do. Keep up the good educating. Yeah, I saw a comment somewhere about that earlier. I think that's the same person. I can't. When they slur, I just have to kick them. It's not about how I run it. It's that I, as host, am obligated to kick them, or my account gets a ding from TikTok. I would allow people up who slur because the type of opposition that I'm trying to face are people who fucking slur. So that being the case, I really do. I really do like it's a bummer. I had a call the other day where I was really off in the weeds with this horribly racist woman, and I was being mean to her. We had her camera up. We had the best viewership the show had ever pulled without me having a co-host, like without Dean coming and bringing me 3,000 viewers or something. Like I had 1,600 people watching, and I had to kick her because somebody off camera on her end of the stream said the F word, and I heard it, and I just thought, doesn't matter that we're cooking with fire. I have to terminate this. So I appreciate your approach. I would gladly I platform racists and bigots and rapists and monsters, you know? That's why we do the Sunday evening show, or the evening show whenever it happens, because we're getting loosey-goosey on the schedule. 7 p.m. Sundays, usually other nights as well. We do that on YouTube only so that I can have a guest like Tom Evanstad use the N-word while trying to win the black vote. And I don't have to kick him immediately. We can see where that rabbit hole leads, but TikTok just doesn't allow it. So that's just a limitation of the platform. Elizabeth sent $10 to say, "Hey, Oscar, I'm very interested in your approach to debates. Do you have any advice about how to speak with someone who's sort of stuck in the manosphere? Thank you." God, the manosphere is such a toxic, nightmarish space. I think it's the same advice that I offer on a lot of things where people have like issues with personal like relationships in their family, is to just like pick a couple issues that are really fact-based and stick on them. You know, like if somebody in the manosphere thinks that like rape isn't a serious issue, like just stick with them on that. Like say, hey, you know, I can't really have a conversation with somebody who thinks that it's not true that such a high percentage of people face sexual assault if they're women in their life. And then the next time they bring you something else, you can just say that again. Hey, we had that conversation about how, you know, how severe sexual assault is a problem for women, and we just didn't really get anywhere on that. I don't really think we're going to get anywhere on this topic. Do you want to revisit that one? I think that's the sort of approach that I take for those sorts of things in my personal life anyway. Lucky Phil sent me $5 on Buy Me a Coffee. Surprised how much this caller turned around. Kudos to him, but it sounds like there's decades of programming which needs to be unpacked. Good to see him peeking over the wall. That's pretty much how I feel about that conversation that just happened. It's like, that dude's lost in the sauce, but he like knows it. How interesting. Maybe we can find, maybe that creates, ooh, Pharaoh, fun gift. Maybe we can make some progress for somebody like him. Maybe some people like him watching can realize that they're like him and go from there. And then we had $2 from Marcelo. Have I seen The Odyssey? I don't believe I have. And let's go over to, yep, we're on fan funding. Ooh, lots to read on YouTube. We've got 2026 dumpster fire fund for $2 from Jen. And YouTube keeps trying to put this little menu up. I can't read. Chai sent the Fuck Ice Fund. Love you, really. $2. Thank you very much for that. My controls, Raven. I don't know.
I'm trying to help you.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's acting like I'm right-clicking when I'm left-clicking.
If you click the scroll bar, that makes that stop.
Oh, thank you. Good to know. And then Chronos sent $20. Love that Oscar can go on a 3-minute monologue about a point, and at the end can actually get back to the point he wanted to make instead of somehow ending up 3 blocks away from the point he wanted to make, like the callers do. I pay attention to that. Sometimes sometimes my point is long-winded, and I got to make sure I come back around and land the plane at the same airport. I always have to assess whether the guest is going to let me do that. And the previous caller was the sort of guest that like generally kind of allows that sort of thing. Goblin sent $20 also to say, just made a big sale and I got to share with you. You've taught me so much about discussing these issues with MAGAs. You teach them, LOL, sometimes, and you teach us. You're an absolute golden teacher. Thank you. Appreciate you, Goblin. Comments like that make me feel better about the fact that I quit my job as a teacher to run this show. Ryu sent me $5 to say freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Yep, we covered that on the show. DKK $17. I think that's like $2 or $3 from a username that's just a jumble of letters. This dude is problematic, but he has potential. My thoughts exactly. Sean sent $2 to say, who told you that you can't interrupt? Yeah. People act like it's not my show. It's hilarious. Metal Rose sent $10 to say, as someone who was spanked as a child, I deal with depression and self-image issues. Also, I don't have a good relationship with my father. I quite dislike him. Sorry to hear that, Metal Rose. Did somebody just send me a Galaxy? Thank you, Portland, for the gift. The VR goggles and the Galaxy. I appreciate that. Kronos sent $5 to say, caller, you are debating Oscar, not chat. Did that yesterday too. Yeah, I always got to say, eyes up here. Focus on the debate while you're up here. You look better if you ignore the chat. And Mr. EFQ became a supporter, so he's going to be in the members only chat next time that happens on the 4 platforms where you can become a monthly member to get involved in that. Okay, just pop back over to Venmo to make sure that none came in while we were looping around. Raven, how long can we go today? We're not going to do the court support today. We decided we're not doing that. Do we have?
You are the only one with plans today, I think.
I think we can go until 1 if we were in a hustle on the VOD.
Yeah, I've been pretty quick on it.
Yeah, because you've got to leave at 2:20ish.
2:10.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's go till 1. We can do a 3-hour show today. I'm going to talk to Harry-O, because that's a new username I haven't seen before. Linktree in the bio if you want to support all that stuff. Hopefully it'll be a good hour if we're gonna stay on. Harry-O is not connecting. I think his phone is in his pocket. We're gonna disconnect him. We're gonna move on to Softer V666. And we're going to see if we get a good debate. I'm not sure. Nope. Got some familiar names in the chat. I'm just going to go through the not familiar names first, because we are always looking for new opposition. Though I might go to CroomReaper, and I saw him saying that I'm a terrible debater in the chat. For him to say that in the chat, he must be a pretty good debater. Producer's telling me that Kroom is a long-time chat hater. Interesting. Let's just go right for it. Let's see what he has to say after he tells us how old he is.
I'm 32.
32. Okay. Thank you, $2, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer, for the $2 on YouTube Super Chat. Part of your overtime pay. Thank you, Jennifer. You support Trump?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I wanted to ask you, like, you were saying something about Mike Lindell. I don't know too much about Mike Lindell. Like, why do you dislike him so much? And
he's a Trump loyalist is kind of the broad thing. Like, he has some like history with like COVID stuff that I don't like, but so I could like get into the individual politics of that. But no, I just think he's a Trump loyalist, and he's going to do things for Minnesota that Trump would want, which is really bad because Trump fucking hates Minnesota.
no, I know, but like, what's your like main issues with like Mike Lindell? You're bashing the guy.
Trump is a traitor to this country. Trump is destroying. Trump is trying. Yeah, that's enough for me to think that a politician's a real problem. If they like Trump, the politician, who I believe to be very actively working against democracy in this country, yeah, that might feel small if you don't value democracy, but if you do, that's huge.
So, is there anything other than that you don't like about him, or issues that you've had with him?
I could start going. I could read his Wikipedia article with you again. I did that about a month ago when I was researching the gubernatorial race here, but I just didn't get much farther past the fact that he's cooperated with Trump on some of these like public like policy positions and conspiracy theories, some stuff to do with COVID. I think that's really, really dangerous. COVID misinformation. But yeah, his support of Trump is.
What other conspiracy theories?
Okay, do you want to go look at Lindell's policy positions? Is this like?
Well, I'm asking you. You're the one saying stuff about him. I just wanted to ask, like, what's your?
I'm saying that the one thing that I've brought up is so big. I'm not interested in any other small little thing. I don't need to look farther than that. He's a Trump loyalist. That's a problem.
So anybody who likes Trump or votes for Trump.
What's the other thing? It was COVID and
you don't.
No, it was COVID and then the 2020 election. He's on board with that attempt at subverting democracy. Again, I don't want my...
Like how, though?
He believes that Trump won in 2020. I don't want a governor who believes that bullshit. You're sitting here acting like that's not a big deal and it's disingenuous. I'm probably going to ask you to turn your camera on soon.
It's not. For the longest time, we heard Russia, 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 Kamala Harris, Joe Biden.
Just turn your camera on. I don't... Like, I don't... Because it's my show, dude. 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds to turn your camera on.
No, if you're scared to debate me, then that's one thing.
You can say that I'm scared to debate you. You are scared to debate me. Like, don't pretend.
I'm trying to talk to you.
You're kicked. You are scared to debate me. If you want to debate me face to face, you are perfectly welcome to do it. Don't act like nobody here believes you. Don't try to save face by saying that I'm the one running by being willing to show you my face. I don't take you seriously because you're just wiping off the table these really serious things, and I don't think that you're a serious debater. I don't think you care about politics. I don't think you care about the country. I don't think you care about anybody other than yourself. I think you're here on here for your own entertainment, and I'm on the wrong website if you're just looking for somebody to help you masturbate. Please go do that in private. If you want to show your face and have a conversation about politics, we can do that. APTAP, I'm going to see if we're going to have a serious conversation with him. Didn't sound 32 either. I agree. Chat. Hello.
Mr. Oskar, right?
Yes.
How you doing today?
Doing all right. You got your camera up so we don't even have to go there, but I don't go there with everybody. That's not always what I'm trying to do.
No, I don't want to go there either. I do what, yeah, that's a good view right there. You say, we want to stick to this prompt because I feel like everybody else like just floats around.
Hold on. I feel like I got sidetracked. How old are you?
Oh, 39 years old.
39. Do you support Trump?
No.
Okay, well, we are kind of in the second half of the show, so do you have something to do? You have a point you want to bring up, or do you want to debate me on something? What's the nature of the call?
If I'm going to present to you my idea, if you want to debate that, then that's fine.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
So, we say MAGA is gullible as heck. Now, could you tell me if you mean like the political policy making MAGA, like the politicians, or like the people who go to work every day and the disabled people, like the guy that was just on here that, you know, can't go to work? Which group of MAGA?
I'm talking about the latter, the voters, the people who've been drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah, the politicians I don't think are gullible. They know what the fuck they're doing.
Okay. Do you think that blue MAGA is gullible as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the blue MAGA is foolish. I don't know enough about blue MAGA. I'm not going to pretend I've dug super hard on them.
No, I mean, you're part of blue MAGA. Look at you. You got the flag up and everything. So my political ideology is I'm in the far East Coast. I'm way left. So because the problem is you're kind of just creating a class division with what you're doing. We should be focusing strictly on the systems, right? Not the individuals, not the voters, because it's not their fault.
I disagree with you, and I think that you're the one creating division. I think that we need to be unified to prevent the Republicans from maintaining control of the legislative branch, because I think if they maintain control of the legislative branch after the midterms, you're going to go to jail, and you're not going to succeed in reforming the system.
Who's going to go to jail?
You before me. Both because
I've already been to jail.
Both because of your political ideologies and because of the color of your skin, unfortunately.
Oh, look at you. You're spreading you're dog whispering Eurocentrism, brethren, as I call you.
I'm really concerned about people's treatment of you because people like the people we're talking about are racist. Don't be concerned
about me. I don't need you. Not my savior. I'm not your Negro, brother. I don't need you to save me. I just
think, as a matter of fact, you'll be more effective for what you're fighting for if you're not in jail. And I'm worried that the Republicans are going to lock you up.
You'll be more affected by it. Donald Trump and the conservative MAGAs are paying attention to you because you're the one with this FI sign, and you're the one LARPing on the internet as a revolutionary. Get off of your chair and go outside, brother.
I do. I got shot with a beanbag round out of a shotgun the day that Alex Preddy was murdered. Like I put my money where my mouth is. I go fight in the streets too.
What did you do about it? What did you do about it, brethren? You got shot with a beanbag by the imperialist enforcers, and what did you do about it?
Well, right now I'm having a conversation with you about it.
Oh, that's not enough. Conversations aren't going to stop fascism, young man.
Then why did you call into my show to discuss fascism?
Because you're just as gullible as the MAGA.
I'm sorry. No. I want an answer to that question. You said that conversations aren't going to help. This is a talk show. Why have you called in?
Because this is leisure, like you're doing. I want to address your ideology that is not a court.
Seems irresponsible for you to be spending your leisure time talking to me, which you yourself think is unproductive. Why don't you go outside and do something?
I am. I've only been on here for like 20 minutes. I'm going outside after I get done.
Well, get up and go. Why are you talking to me? Seems like you're
going on. You were going to be online until 3 o'clock, brother. You're wasting time. What do you mean?
I think I'm getting more people's attention on these issues.
Okay, more people's attention. Yes. What kind of people, brethren? How often are black people on here? Colonized people. How often do the colonized people come on to your show?
I would say
people in the colonized America you love so much.
I would say with a frequency that probably tracks with the percentage of the population they represent.
No, don't. Hey, those metrics are made by the billionaire class. You pulling up metrics made by the billionaires.
Do you think that the population of African Americans in this country is something other than like 12 or 14%?
I think that your organizing isn't centered upon the indigenous people of this land as any real left organization should. Anybody in the left, you should be centering the indigenous and Afro-indigenous people in your organizing, and you're not.
Excuse me.
You're not.
Excuse me. Why?
You're my white savior. You're my white Jesus.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you're not listening.
I think I am listening.
Okay, what do you have to say then?
I think that your anger is misplaced. I think I'm moving people to the left. I think I'm doing some good. And
this isn't anger. You're not seeing anger. This is passion. This is political traumatization built up over 400 years. So your conflation that this is anger is proof that you're carrying water for white supremacy. Brother, this is not anger. As James Baldwin put it, any conscious man that's black in America should be in a constant state of rage.
Excuse me. I'm just gonna say hi to Hector. How you doing, Hector?
Hi, Oscar.
Hector has an American flag in his profile picture.
Excuse me.
You are carrying
It's not your time to
the
speak.
imperialist state
I'm sorry.
of the United States of America.
Sir,
Get
I don't like using the mute button on my show. I like to. I think that if you want to be on my show, you need to exercise basic manners, and it is not your turn to speak.
You right. Go for it, Hector.
This is why he called you angry, by the way, and you tried to pull the race card. Hi, Oscar.
How you doing,
Good
Hector?
to see you. Love your show. I came here specifically because I find it interesting how Black Trump supporters always try to circulate white spaces specifically to pull this white supremacy card. And obviously, white supremacy is still a thing that's being upheld by the left. People haven't deconstructed.
I'm sorry, sir.
I
hate Donald Trump and the conservatives. I hate it all.
Yeah.
What are you saying? You're telling me I'm a Trump supporter. I am not a Trump supporter. I hate him just as much as you. But I understand that my anger should be pointed at the system and not voters who go to work every day and trade their labor for money. You guys are disgusting. Go for it.
So now you admit that you were angry this entire time. So when Oscar called it out, you tried to say that he was doing a thing. That's crazy. Okay. So explain to me why you're directing your anger towards Oscar here, who would advocate for policies that overwhelmingly benefit the Black community.
Brother, not overwhelmingly benefit the Black community. And none of your imperialist policies are going to benefit the people closest to the struggle. Do you see my window, brother? I have curtains on my window. I am in the ghetto, brother, and this is not anger. This is passion. You need to understand the difference. I will not have anybody come talk to me about some imperialist policies that's supposed to be benefiting me when they only help the bourgeoisie billionaire class, brother.
Hey, excuse me. I'm just going to take the floor for a moment. I run a show where I'm totally okay with people being totally at odds with me, and I really want people to understand your perspective and hear where you're coming from. I don't think you're doing a very effective job of getting my audience to listen to where you're coming from. I think Hector has some good questions. Can you like take a deep breath and try to have like a adult conversation about this? Seems like we're talking about
an adult conversation.
I don't agree. I don't think.
What's your occupation? Tell me that.
My occupation is a community organizer. My occupation. You asked me a question. My occupation.
I'll answer the question.
No, it's my job. My occupation is getting my audience to understand you, and I'm telling you that there are some things you could do that would make that happen more effectively. And those things are that you could slow down and not interrupt as much.
Yeah, my question was very simple. You said imperialist policies is what Oscar would be advocating for. I'm curious as to what those policies are.
Any policies that fall under the Democratic or Republican banner, the donkey or the elephant, go for it.
You get specific, please.
And I just told you, what is imperialism? What's the definition? Pull up the definition of imperialism, please, Oscar, so Hector can understand, because he doesn't get it.
I don't get it. Okay, cool. Can you tell me how the expansion of healthcare, specifically 3 million under the ACA for Black Americans, is imperialist?
For Black Americans, that's a blank check to corporations. That United Healthcare, as it stands under imperialist policies, is a blank check for corporations. Please read what the definition of imperialism is.
Blank.
The policy, practice, or advocacy of extending the power and domination of a nation. I can't
Dominion.
see it. Yeah, I can't see it because this thing is up. A rose is up there, and I appreciate it, Chrome. I still get they're hitting you up right now. I think they're giving that to me though, but I love them for that. You read it for us because I can't see it, Oscar.
The policy, practice, or advocacy of extending the power and dominion of a nation, especially by direct territorial acquisitions or by gaining indirect control over the political or economic life of other areas.
Oh, economic life of other areas? That's why every policy under imperialism will only benefit the people at the top. There is no policy that you can write under the Democratic banner that's going to help us. Where's the reparations for Black folks? They're not talking. That's the most help you can do. We're standing up against fascism, guys. I thought this was fascism we were up against.
I really want you to address specifically how healthcare expansion under the ACA and continuing policies the Democrats are advocating for, such as universal healthcare, is just a quote unquote blank check to corporations, especially concerning universal healthcare would be far better than the ACA.
Okay, because here's the thing.
I'll give you every single Black American here in the United States who historically have had issues with medical malpractice, not having access to healthcare, especially in impoverished communities, so on and so forth. So specifically explain to me how that's American imperialism. I love how you're doing that yap thing when you've just been yapping this whole time and yelling at that. But go ahead, keep going.
Brother, I've had this health insurance you're talking about. I don't even use it. It's a blank check and I still have to pay $200 some a month, and I don't even need it, okay? And then when I go to the emergency room, like I have to
rather
go,
Black people not
stop
have
it. Stop it! You're
you just
interrupting.
against healthcare?
You're interrupting me, sir, and you want to ask why I keep yelling. Stop
Your
it!
criticism
You're
was that
a
you
black
don't
white
use it.
supremacist, brother.
You
stop
not
it.
having
Go
to use
crawl
it is
back
a privilege.
into your white
That doesn't mean that Black
supremacist,
people don't need it.
Eurocentric ideology.
Sir, I'm
You
trying to
can't
understand
talk
what
over
your
me,
argument
brother.
is here.
You need to stop it. Have
You
some
said
control
you had it and
over
you
yourself.
don't need it.
And
That
yes,
doesn't change the fact that it is a coverage. It is an insurance. It is for an emergency if it happens. And Black people did not have that safety net.
This is a
I'm
straw
literally
man
not.
argument you're giving me.
I'm
I
literally
just
not.
told you how it was a blank check, and you keep trying to move the goalposts. You're tap dancing. You would make a good Democratic politician.
I have a
Please
question.
get this man up out of here.
I have a
You know
question.
you're not winning, brother. This is a
I have a
straw man
question.
argument you're giving me.
I
I
have a
just told
question.
you exactly
I have a
how
question.
it is a blank
Excuse me.
check
I have
to
a question.
corporations.
You did it.
200 of my
Excuse me.
dollars every
Excuse me.
month go to corporations.
Excuse me, sir.
And I don't
excuse me,
use
sir.
insurance.
Excuse me, sir.
How insurance works.
Excuse me, sir. I have a question.
Fuck out of here. What is on your... You guys are brainless.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely brainless.
Can I ask
you
a question?
Go ahead.
Do you think you're helping?
Yes.
Do you think that you...
I hope I would be. Because I am a representation of every failed policy that your government has ever put forth.
Excuse me.
That's why it should be
I have a
helpful.
follow-up question. I think that... I just want to tell you the reason why I don't think you're helping, which is that I think that your approach to this conversation is only going to be effective and only going to land well with people that already agree with you. I think that you should try to behave in a way that convinces people who don't already agree with you that you're worth listening to. And it's my professional opinion, because I am a professional at this, that you're not doing...
Professional what?
I'm a professional at getting people
At running your mouth?
I'm a professional, yes, at getting people to understand what I think about things if they disagree with me.
You're a professional manipulator.
I just don't think you're doing it well. Yeah, when you talk to people, you're trying to when you talk to people, you're trying to manipulate their brain into understanding what you're trying to convey to them. And I just
we don't have time to lullaby and pop popsicles in people's mouths.
I mean, we've got until about 1 o'clock, so we have 51 minutes. I think that's plenty of time for lollipops and sunshines and Daisy. But I'd really rather spend it understanding you better. And I just don't think you're doing a very effective job of getting people who don't already agree with you to understand where you're coming from.
I understand psychology. I understand that there's no breaking your political ideology.
I don't think you understand my political ideology at all. You've demonstrated that you don't.
There is no breaking, because you got all this blue and you saying vote blue no matter who. You are
It's just a state
lost
flag.
in the sauce.
It's just a state flag. It's not about the party.
You are drinking the Kool-Aid.
It's just about it's the state flag. It's not for the Democrats, the blue.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid. Anytime you go against MAGA, you have this branding of, I'm anti-MAGA. You're drinking the Kool-Aid, brother. You're drinking that white Jesus Kool-Aid.
I don't think being anti-fascist is drinking Kool-Aid, my guy.
Huh? You're not anti-fascist. You're not. It's impossible because you have an American flag. America has been fascist since its creation.
Yeah,
but you have the flag in your background.
I'm aware of America's
foolish are
history.
you?
I'm aware of America's history and how it's historically been detrimental when it comes to the Black community and Black growth, which is exactly why I vote on behalf of candidates who understand that history as well and are trying to reverse the impacts of this administration and previous ones.
You got $1 million words with 50 cent worth of action.
Of Black
you
people.
got $1 million worth of words and 50 cent worth of results.
The government, listen, Mr. Rambler, I'm going to have my chance to talk if you don't mind, okay? I am for voting because the government is one method that the Black people can use for the betterment of our society with candidates that very much not only look like us, but advocate for policies that would benefit us. because sitting out of said elections and then, as say, allowing things like the Trump administration to come in and destroy our communities with the eradication of DEIA policies, which
what did Barack Obama do for you, brother?
Which contributed to
what
the
did Barack Obama do for your black ass, brother?
I'm not done.
Right, that's what
which has contributed to the mass unemployment of
Barack Obama dropped more missiles on them people overseas than any president. What has he done for you?
Through the erasure of black history, to the assaulting of black Americans and even black immigrants here in the United States due to the Supreme Court's ruling on
they've been doing that for 400 years.
So forth. Yeah,
they've been doing that for 400 years.
Correct. The difference is this administration champions it. They brag about it. They own it.
United States has championed it for 400 years.
The checks and balances that are meant to get justice for these individuals in the United States, no matter what race you are being eroded. You're being threatened. He's actively trying to take them away.
Does your state... Does your state uphold the 14th Amendment, sir? Does your state uphold the 14th Amendment, sir?
So when you're sitting here and you're talking about American imperialism,
you got $1 million worth of words and zero material conditions that back it up. Be quiet.
If you're going to have an argument about American imperialism, we need to have an honest conversation.
I'm sorry. I just, sir, if you yell the entire time he's talking, nobody else can hear what he's trying to say.
It doesn't matter.
Then why are you on my show?
I yell because your heart isn't hearing me, brother. That's why I'm yelling. I'm yelling because
nobody can hear what he's saying on my show. I really don't like to use the mute button. I like to make sure that everybody who's on the panel can exercise enough basic manners for us to hear each other out. And I don't think when you're yelling over him while he talks, I don't think that you're listening to what he's saying. And I don't
sound like Barack Obama to me, man. I don't want to hear that, man. He's talking too much, and he's not talking about anything.
I'm sorry.
That has any
I am
weight.
going to insist that you not yell over him while he talks. And I will move on to somebody else if you do it again.
All right, Oscar, I won't yell over him. Can I talk over him?
The conflict is pretty good for the show. It helps the viewership. It pads my bottom line, but it's really not what I'm trying to do here.
You think
so
you're
I will move on.
You're talking about padding my bottom line.
I'm saying that I will sacrifice that because I'd much rather have a productive conversation. And this isn't
a walking contradiction.
This isn't a productive conversation. I'm gonna wager to guess that you're a hypocrite who also pays his rent. But
nope, I don't. Nope, I'm on Section 8. Okay, I'm on government benefits.
Oh,
what? Yeah, you hear it? Yeah, what? What?
Hector, I'm gonna let you take it from here,
I've
Hector.
been chronically homeless.
You have got
and
to
you
be
know how,
kidding me.
and I just got this. I was chronically homeless for 10 years before I made my way up the waiting list.
Why are you on Section 8?
And it's not Section 8. I'm on rental assistance. By the way,
you said Section 8.
I'm
repeating back what you said.
Stop
I repeated
because I've been institutionalized my whole life. That's why I'm in this situation.
I need you to stop yelling, sir.
Cocaine.
Oh my God!
Oh no, we gotta kick him. We gotta kick him for substances. Shit.
That's right. Kick him.
Yeah, he broke the. He said. How you doing, Hector? Are you okay? Sorry about that.
No. I'm baffled. Okay, so I'm seeing.
He called me a capitalist for acknowledging the existence of money, and then I said that you're probably a hypocrite who also pays his rent. And I gave him an inch, and he decided to make it a mile by telling us that he's on fucking public assistance. Unbelievable. My criticism with leftists of that sort is that they're spoiled brats who are unwilling to recognize that they have benefited from politics as a machine in some way. And if he's on benefits to not be homeless, but he's yelling at me for fucking advocating for him, I don't have to say anything to make him look bad. That's all I've got to say. But thanks for helping out with that one.
I was just going to say, where else could you go with that conversation? You're here criticizing the entire political system that is housing you right now. That is giving you the privilege to sit in that room and yell at people online. And friendly reminder, guys, the acknowledgement of the United States as a uncapped capitalist country doesn't mean that you're an unapologetic supporter of capitalism, at least the degree that we have today. I engage in capitalism. I don't have a choice. No one does here in the United States. That's how that works. Like, what are we doing? I just don't. That honestly, the joke's right itself. The joke's right itself.
Yeah.
I hate this political process that houses me. Okay, cool beans, bro.
Well, and yeah, we started with the basic position that I always start with when I'm talking to that flavor of leftist, where it's like, okay, like I recognize that the Democrats aren't going to fix the things you're upset about, but the Republicans are going to put you in jail for wanting to fix those things. So like, who should you vote for has an answer. that you know, just I don't know. It's frustrating that there's so many people farther left than me that like they look at everything so black and white. It's so all or nothing. It's kind of the same problem I have with a lot of my MAGA callers, where it's like you can't have everything you want, therefore none of it's good. Like you can't just like look at the set of options in front of you and pick something that's reasonable to get to the next step, whatever that is in the discourse. And again, I'll just accuse him of not knowing anything about me, because I think I'm a lot farther left than that guy supposes that I am.
Oh, 6,000%. I've been listening to you for a bit, and your positions are not, I would argue they're not center in any way, shape, or form.
No.
This may be a hot take. I do think you can get to a point of the left to where you're borderline the right. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that, because having these conversations with these people, they don't get things. It starts with ignorance, willful ignorance at that, and then they just refuse to learn or acknowledge anything that's happening. But on that note, I don't want to hold up your show any further. Appreciate you having me up.
Of course. Everybody drop Hector a follow. He's still on the screen. Click on that username and get following.
Yeah, support Oskar, bro. I'm out.
Thank you, Hector. Didn't even want the plug. No, he gave himself a good commercial by handling that guy in the way that he did, which I want to engage with those people. I even think it's very important that we engage with those people. And a lot of debate hosts that have my size of viewership tend to not engage with those sorts of conversations because it's like infighting on the left. But I think we need to tackle that sort of situation. It's frustrating that we can't even have a conversation about what my actual political beliefs are, where he can recognize that maybe I'm actually more of a leftist than a liberal in a lot of ways. I just recognize that the midterms are locally important to what's going on, like in 2026. I'm going to thank some donations. We're going to move on because we get another 42 minutes in the show and the queue is full. So I'm sure we'll get another good conversation today. Kate sent me $10 to the wrong Venmo account. It's okay. I have Oscar with a dash, Oskar Quentin with a dash, and Oskar Quentin without a dash. I do have both. So this one came through the email instead of my normal Venmo page. But anyway, that's no big deal. You are so good at this. You're thoughtful, articulate, and I really appreciate how you engage people. You hold them accountable when it's warranted, but you don't make it personal. Appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. Thank you, Kate. Thank you for the $10. It really does matter. Because got to pay the staff, got to plan some travel, got to buy some gear, new webcam, all that stuff. Thanks to you guys. I'm going to hop over to Venmo. I think we had one more on there. Yeah, Elizabeth sent $5. Did I read that already? Hey, Oscar, I'm very interested in your approach to debates. Yeah. I did already cover that. It was the YouTube super chat that's been filling up. Where were we? We were pretty far along. Oh my goodness, so many. There's the overtime pay message. I saw that. And then $5 from Kronos. And then Tavi sent $5 to say, here we go. Kronos sent $5 to say, will we get an update on when the next members live and afternoon interview is, or did I already miss the one that was postponed? I think it ends up just being canceled. My week's too busy to get an evening stream in, so it's probably just going to be Sunday evening, 7 p.m. But we did get an extra one last week, so we're not technically behind. But I am trying to do more than one a week. So expect it 7 p.m. Central Time on Sunday on YouTube only for like a special show where it's more of a variety show where I have a special guest to all the people who haven't seen it yet. And then we do the members only stream after that if you're a monthly member on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And we're trying to get Patreon and other monthly supporters a link so that they can get it as well. It's just like Q&A and shoot the shit chat, not the like high octane radio show that this has to be to keep the viewership up. But yeah, so Sunday is probably when the next one is happening. Rob's wife sent $2 to say, saying it louder doesn't make you right. I agree. Hell's Pacifist sent $5 to say, black person here. This is another guy who seems to not understand that anger is an emotion. You should really find some helpful therapy. Yeah, Raven was even kind of pinging me on the side screen about it. Like, we're not going to be so hard on somebody who's like also very clearly dealing with some like probably mental health issues. Heavensley sent $5 to say, make him stop yelling. I tried. Hell's Pacifist sent another $5 to say, caller, you are a representation of giving up, of giving in and deciding to be what the oppression paints you to be. Be better. Yeah, that's why I asked him if he thinks he's helping. I think at the end of the day, I am doing more for people who have his political ideology than he is. And he came into my show and made all of us look bad by just yelling at me while I tried to have a meaningful conversation with him. Keep your blisters. Something sent $2 to say clown car ideology, leftist caricature. Yeah, I agree. We had that one episode where a leftist came up and we talked about that for like 45 minutes. And then immediately after, a different leftist came up and proved us right about all of the, problems with people who are just like total caricatures of the left. the guy's not helping. That's kind of the bottom line. Ghoulmeister sent $5 to say, as a black man, I'd love to know if this blacktivist can even name a black politician doing the work he's screaming about, LMAO. Nope, because he's participating in American politics, therefore he's a fascist. And then Kronos sent another $20. Big fat donations coming from Kronos today. W. Hell's Pacifist and everyone else in the chat giving their opinions respectfully, and Joey Xkill for keeping an eye on everyone who isn't in check. Mods are locked in today on YouTube with over 400 watchers. Yeah, got 425 people watching and almost 800 on TikTok, so we got a pretty healthy stream today. So W mods all around, because you know, a lot of the mods have been modding from when I had like 50 viewers, so thanks everyone for keeping up as the show has grown, because it has continued to get more and more out of hand as we go. Deepa sent $5 on Venmo to say, new viewer here, I appreciate how you engage in real, candid conversations with everyone. If more folks did that, did more of that before, Kamala could have won. Keep it up. Doing my best. Appreciate that you see what the approach I'm taking, Deepa. And if anybody else sees the approach that I'm taking and likes it and wants to support the show in any way, free or otherwise, they can go to the link tree in my bio and follow all of my pages for free. That gets the numbers up. Following the backup account right down here on TikTok also helps out a lot. Oskar Quentin 2. We also have Oskar Quentin Music. That's in the link tree. The Discord's in the link tree in the bio. The Discord's on the screen for stuff that I need mid-show. I often do make use of the little things that come through the grapevine on the Venmo mid-show. Makes me a better host, because again, it's not about how good at hosting I am. It's not about how good I am at debating. It is the truth versus the claims of the caller, and I am simply the vessel. So thanks to everybody on the team who helps out, and you can help out for free in all those ways. But if you want to spend money like a bunch of those people I just mentioned have, you can go to the Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon in the link tree in the bio. And Buy Me a Coffee is international, because I do have a lot of people who are watching from abroad, concerned about what's going on over here, and they think I'm helping, so they send some donations to keep the show going. But we've got a little more than a half hour, so let's get another debate going. I am going to look for a username I haven't seen before to hopefully keep it fresh today, and we're going to talk to Mario R, who's going to start the call by telling us how old he is. If he connects. Get out of the teacup. Come back. Your time. You're on the show. No, he's not coming. Ooh, he came just as I disconnected him right as he showed up. Mario, hop back in the queue right away. I'll get you back in. I'll give you 10 seconds to hop back in the queue. While I just refresh the dono pages to make sure that I don't miss anybody. Bad timing on that disconnect. No, I don't think he's coming back. No. We're going to talk to Joey. Might be the same problem with Joey. Oh, there we go. How old are you?
Oh, no, I didn't mean to connect. My bad.
No worries. W in the chat for Joey for being polite. We're going to talk to Rock Goblin. Is he going to be our last caller of the day? We're going to get 35 minutes of nuanced discussion about American politics in. I hope so. How old are you?
I'm 32.
32. Are you a Trump supporter?
No, I am not. But I am calling from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of your show. Yeah. I find it weird because we're constantly appearing in what seems to be the news cycle in America, with the refugees. So I just wanted to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll answer quickly before I move on to somebody else, but I do think that the reason you hear about South Africans is because Trump has been lenient on South African immigrants and refugees in spite of them meeting all of the same parameters as all the other immigrants that he's mistreating. The big difference is that it's generally white people. So the reason you're hearing your country a lot in the news cycle is just because it's a spotlight on the hypocrisy of the Trump administration and how this isn't actually about immigration. This isn't actually about the economy. This isn't about any of that. This is an issue of scapegoating immigrants and creating disdain for people of color. And white South African immigrants happen to not be people of color. And a lot of people don't identify them walking down the street as foreigners of any kind. And that just demonstrates the hypocrisy of what's going on. That's kind of the long and short of it. But thank you for your support. I appreciate that a lot of people are internationally watching. I like to try to remind myself sometimes that I'm a lens that a lot of people view American politics for, so I have to give more background information about how things work here and who these politicians I talk about are, just because not everybody has the background information who's watching. Bobby Bellagio got muted in the chat. I didn't see for what, but when somebody jumps in the queue after being muted, I'm usually interested in hearing what they have to say. How old are you?
36.
You're a Trump supporter?
I am.
Why is that?
Because everything Trump does is for working and middle class people, and he punishes fraudsters and other people that don't help the country. He's doing a great job.
You are aware that Trump is himself a fraudster, right?
Yeah, he has a past. Yeah, definitely.
I think he's at present still a fraudster. I think he's enriched himself in fraudulent ways as president, in addition to his long history of fraud.
Yeah, and all these personality issues were kind of litigated a lot before the election. A lot of the cases brought against him were somewhat fraudulent. Like Mar-a-Lago isn't appraised at $18 million.
Yeah, that's fraud. Misrepresenting the value of his properties, that's a form of fraud.
Well, what the judge was saying and what the DA of New York was saying is Mar-a-Lago's not worth $18 million. We could go on Zillow right now.
Yeah,
and find.
But the fraud issue is widespread.
Property in Palm Beach.
He pardons fraudsters.
Yeah, and Biden did that too, and Obama did that as well.
I don't think you're serious.
I'm very serious.
And turn your camera on.
Why?
Because I don't think you're serious. And people who aren't serious tend not to want to turn their camera on. They just run away. So that's better for my show. This is a serious program. This pays my bills. It pays 2 other people's bills, and there's 1,200 people watching.
Yeah, I don't want to turn on my camera because you people are not right. You're emotional.
My camera's on.
And like to hurt people and dox people. So no, I'm not interested.
I don't want. Yeah, then I don't believe you. I don't think those are your reasons. I think that you just lied. And I'm not interested in wasting my show talking to somebody who isn't serious about this, because I think the idea that really believing with your heart that Trump is like good for the fraud problem in America, nonsense, absolute fucking nonsense. Ghost ERZ, I know you've been sitting in the queue a long time. I can't remember who you are. I know we've talked before though. I know this time I'll remember. Remind me.
It's a p-value.
Oh yeah. P-value, the study guy. Yeah. Remind me how old you are.
28.
What are we talking about today?
First off, I did some research since our last conversation. And I wanted to apologize. Actually, I did look up, and 6,000 is an actual decent size study. At the time, I don't know why, I just felt like 6,000 is kind of a small number. In terms of like, I guess I was thinking like the population.
This is great. I'm so happy you've called back in. First of all, just fucking fill the chat with W's, because we had this conflict. What even was the study? What was it? Trans issues? What was this? What was?
Yeah, it was something about regret with trans people.
Right. And Ezra was up, so I've just brought Ezra back up so we can kind of pick up the conversation. So what we were talking about is that people who get gender-affirming care, it's very rare for them to regret it. And the study we were looking at had 6,000 people, and me and Ezra were arguing that that's a perfectly large sample size for this sort of claim, given that the degree to which people regret getting gender-affirming care is really, really small. It's like less than 1% or something. And we got it stuck in this thing where you really felt that 6,000 wasn't a big enough sample size, and we were arguing that it was. So you've gone and spent some time on it, and you've come around on it.
I am going to digress from that whole thing. I think I did enough research. My views are still a little bit more, but I think I'm going to, hand it to you. And I think after research, I think that I was in the wrong on that one completely.
I appreciate that. And the math isn't obvious. Like 6,000 people doesn't feel like very many people when there's millions of trans individuals. But
I think it's an issue that we need to definitely I would definitely say push a little bit more with making sure that people understand that 6,000 is a decent study size, because people like me who aren't really into debating or doing research as much as yourself. I mean, this is your job, right? So you do a lot more research than a normal average person that just kind of pops up. 6,000 doesn't sound like a lot. And then you also have the part where I was assuming that 6,000 is a percentage of the population that is transgender. And I think a lot of people actually would, when they debate, think that I did. And I think that's an issue.
Yeah, it's just not always. Yeah, it's just not always mathematically obvious what a good sample size is. The one thing that I like to point out about just the way that math works in sometimes counterintuitive ways. Do you know how many people need to be standing in a room for us to say that there's more than a 50% likelihood that 2 of them share a birthday?
I don't know.
Guess.
Guess how many people have to be standing in a room?
For there to be a more than 50% chance that 2 of those people...
I would say 100, probably.
21.
21?
Yeah. Because what it is that if you and I step into a room together, doesn't matter what my birthday is. The only thing we have to look at is whether yours is the same. And there's a 364 out of 365, roughly, because of the leap years. 364 out of 365 chance that you don't have the same birthday. So then now there's 2 birthdays in the room, and the third person has a 363 out of 365 chance of yet being a different birthday. And the number of times that has to work out, every time you multiply it, the odds, it only takes 20 people before that erodes away to 50%. And that's not obvious. That's why people say something like 100, 200, something like that. But think about it. We get to a point where if there's 100 people in the room, there's like a 1/3 chance of the next person who walks in the room sharing a birthday with somebody. So obviously the chance of it having happened to anybody else in the room must have gone up, much earlier than that. We're just not good at math, us humans. We got to learn how it works.
It's that, and at the time, I have a lot of views that are still different, but I think this one is one that I backtrack on, and definitely I've done some research, and I think I feel a little bit more better with the understanding that I've come to.
It's good to hear.
I wanted to thank you for talking to me. The question I actually have for you today is completely different. Actually,
okay.
So I wanted to tell you what my second. I've been on here since you started today. One of the things I would mention, I have a piece of paper. I've been writing it down like you suggested last time, actually.
Good.
You had mentioned that. Can you remind me who the people that were in your state that was executed in bed, what their names were?
It was Melissa Hartman, and then the other one, I forget his name. He survived, the other one.
Yeah, Hartman. I would also point out that when Charlie Kirk was...
John Hoffman.
John Hoffman's the other one.
Was off. He was on video, and video tends to circulate a little bit better than a news report that didn't have video, right? It's more... So that's just a short thing where you had mentioned why it wasn't getting as much much publicity, and I think that Charlie Kirk was just instantly viral just because of who he was and the fact that it was on video.
I actually think that if there wasn't video of the Kirk assassination, we would have seen the same thing. I think that the right considered it a real affront to their freedom of speech, and that, which it was, and they brought that to the forefront as a news story. But I think it really stands to my point that they don't consider it such an affront to their freedom of speech or their political freedoms to see a sitting elected official assassinated in her bed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think you were gonna, but I mean, I honestly have no idea. I'm not really.
Yeah, we can't know, but I think we can look at the trends. It's.
But that's just something I saw that I kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were on that. My actual thing that I want to bring up to you, I think you're going to have kind of an interesting response to.
Okay.
It's my Second Amendment review. I think that you had mentioned that the times of which the Second Amendment was wrote, that our forefathers would have had a different view, and I don't think that.
I think that if they saw what was going to happen with the advances in technology regarding firearms, they maybe would have written a different Second Amendment.
I don't think so. I think when they wrote the Second Amendment, it was more about making sure that we were able to defend ourselves from people who had the same equipment as they did back then. And I think that would still stand today. I think if they saw Trump, I'll just put Trump because, he's the president right now, came and started going through house with assault rifles, that the forefathers would want citizens to have assault rifles equal to what the president's abilities are military-wise.
Sure, I think that's a good counter argument to what I said. I think that gets us into that speculative territory, so we don't have to really wager too much about what the forefathers would have thought about the power of assault rifles.
My view is I think we should have anything. I mean, I'm for background checks that the military can have, or that they could be used against citizens. I think that is my view. I think whatever the military has that they can use against us, we should be able to have as citizens.
You think we should be able to make nukes at home?
I think that should be massive. That's a
well, because if you don't, then it sounds to me like you think that the military shouldn't be allowed to have nukes at all.
I think we should have. All right, let me just go. I think nukes is a little bit outdated because I don't think me myself could go outside and make a nuke. I don't think I have the knowledge to do that.
Well, right, but some people have tried. First of all, just because you and I don't have the knowledge to do it or the resources to do it, it comes down to this thing about making sure that your perspective on this is concrete in a way that stands up to the whole point. Wait. So, listen. The whole point is that they failed to recognize what the guns were going to become like in the future. And we're bringing up nukes as an example. And your immediate thing is it's not realistic for a person to be able to make a nuke. Well, what about in 100 years? Maybe in 100 years, you can 3D print a nuke.
I think that if there was a civil war and we were defending ourselves, I think I would be okay with having to be able to make nukes.
Hold on, I think you slid past what I said. Is that you kind of brushed off the nukes thing, saying that the Second Amendment would defend us all having nukes, because that's the same thing that the military has, because it's just not practical for us to have nukes. But that's us sitting with a limited perspective on what's going to happen with technology in the future. Nukes might become very easy to make later.
I'd be okay. I guess I would be okay with that.
That seems silly to me. So never mind what the founding fathers would have thought. I still just think that that's silly.
I think the thing is like we should be able like to defend ourselves against some a tyrannical force, whatever they have. RPGs. I mean, do I think there should be massive background checks on a lot of weapons? 100%. But I think we should be able to still obtain it.
You should be able to what?
Obtain whatever kind of weapon, even like whatever the military has, we should be able to obtain as citizens.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just straightforwardly don't believe all that strongly in the Second Amendment. I don't think it's a very good amendment. I think that I think that the idea, I guess like the Second Amendment like exists to defend what the leftists want, right? Like the leftists think that the government's so tyrannical that people should be able to overthrow it. So there's this like say the quiet part out loud that a lot of the leftists aren't.
It happens a lot. I mean, the government's taken out like being tyrannical.
I agree. Yes, that's a problem. But people are reticent to promote violence against the government for obvious reasons, especially on platforms like TikTok. But there's always this like read between the lines thing of like, are the leftists asking us to use the Second Amendment? Is that what's going on? Do the leftists want something like January 6th? Do they want the people to go take control back from the government because the Second Amendment says we're allowed to? My concern is that in this country of now 350 million people, where there's like very vastly different guns than were available when the amendment was written, is it really sensible to say that the reason that people own firearms is so that we can all band together and like overthrow the government if it's tyrannical? I think it's pretty obvious to most gun owners that that's not what they think about when they go to Walmart and buy a gun. That's not really the purpose. It seems a little disingenuous. So while I can get behind the value of the people having the power to overthrow the government, I don't actually think the Second Amendment does a very effective job of promoting that right, especially in consideration of the fact that you have to violate a bunch of other rules in order to execute the Second Amendment. Like if we were to say, oh, there's tyranny, it's time, everybody get your guns together, we're going to go overthrow the government. Well, you have to like murder and all this other stuff that's illegal. So who the fuck cares whether or not you have the right to have the guns in the first place? Like it's kind of, I just don't think in a practical sense it matters. I don't think that the Second Amendment protects America from tyranny effectively is really what I'm trying to get to here. And for that reason, as a person who thinks that a responsible adult should be able to own a firearm if they prove to the state they're responsible with it, in the same way that an adult can own a car if they prove to the state that they're responsible with it, you can own a plane if you prove to the government that you're responsible with it. I like that sort of approach for firearms. I think that it should be harder to get the more dangerous the weapon.
Well, I definitely. The reason I bring this up is because Virginia, this is where I'm from, is having the ban on assault rifles, and I worked in an industry where I was an armed security officer, and it affected, my personal job as well. So this is kind of like a really personal, like my job was. I know that you were a school teacher and whatnot, and I did armed security for schools. So, I think that, being, especially with how often that school, incidents happen with, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word or not, school shootings and whatnot.
We could talk about school shootings on the show. That doesn't seem to be a problem.
School shootings and whatnot, I definitely felt that taking away my ability to have high capacity rounds in my holster is definitely not the way to go. I definitely, my job is to protect our future, and by banning it and the things doesn't stop, people who have ill intentions coming into a school.
Well, yeah, and I criticize the left a lot about how we try to handle policies that like there'll be another nasty school shooting, and as a fucking educator, I'm sure I don't need to sit here and convince everybody that I find school shootings to be some of the most horrible things we deal with in the news cycle here in America. But then I'll see the policies that people try to push about firearms, and I just think, given my data-driven approach to everything, I don't think that these are policies that are going to reduce the number of children who are killed by firearms, which is what I'm really concerned about. I think that if we want to reduce the number of children in this country who died of firearm deaths, I think we need to go after handguns, and that tends not to be what happens when children dying at the hands of firearms comes up in the news cycle. So you and I probably disagree about the exact minutia of it, but I actually think we do probably have some common ground in the fact that people who are super anti-gun just aren't necessarily prioritizing the right policies in terms of preventing hardship. I think that they're like looking at the bigger, scarier looking guns and thinking they must be the problem. And that's just not the way that I do policy and politics. So I'm capable of having a more nuanced conversation about it. I just don't really respect the Second Amendment as a reason.
Yeah. So would you probably say that like how would you like if you were in Virginia and you were like a politician, what would you suggest as common ground? Because right now they're taking away assault rifles and high capacity magazines. I'm not worried about assault rifles.
It comes from
I'm worried about high capacity. Like
it goes back to the beginning, which I think that in any state, any adult, even just to get a fairly like if we think about like the least dangerous type of firearm, which would be something like a cricket, rifle, like a 22 caliber rifle that like. Unless you get shot in an unlucky place on your body, you can get shot with one of these rifles, and it's like an ER visit for the afternoon. Like if you got shot in the forearm with such a weapon, unless it hit the bone, it's kind of stolen valor if you say that you were shot. That's going to piss off the chat. But I'm talking about weapons that are disproportionately far less dangerous. These are weapons where the rounds can be stopped by a Carhartt jacket in some cases if it's over enough distance. I still think you should have to go take a class. I still think you should have to go like log 8 or 12 or 40 hours or something in the safety courses and get your certificate, which is the sort of thing that we do for cars, right? You have to have a responsible person who's already licensed by the state to drive a car, log your hours and say that you have spent enough hours practicing under safe circumstances. Like it's different from state to state and it's not perfect, but like in general, we have that sort of ethos. Oh, you want to play with a dangerous thing? You want to use a dangerous thing in your personal life? Yep, got to make sure you're safe with it. And that's just for like the least dangerous types of firearms. So when we talk about these assault rifles, when we talk about Punch Nazis is saying 22 long rifles the most deadly round statistically. Yeah, it's because it's most common. Come on, be real about the data.
I also think that people don't like consider like have a false issue about like those kind of guns being
My point is
they are misused.
The point is, I think that there are things that should like unlock a classification of a gun where it's like, oh, if you want a semi-automatic rifle, one that can be fired that quickly without reactioning it, that's a different class. Like I think that's like maybe another week you need to spend at your local community center, like that sort of thing. So I
don't think it's taken away.
I agree. That's I think where I disagree most fundamentally with the left. I don't think it's helpful or politically pragmatic to put bans on these things because you can achieve 99% of the same result by making it exceptionally difficult to get these things, by making it like an expensive or difficult process to get through. And if guns are important to you as a hobby or in your work or your hunter or whatever the fuck it is, whatever your reason is, I'm okay with your reason being that you like them and you like shooting beer cans with them. If I had more money, that's the sort of thing I might do. I might buy a rifle to go to the range and poke holes in a piece of paper. I like doing that. I've enjoyed it every time I've found myself in the backyard of somebody's cabin shooting beer cans with some 22 long rifle. Like I'm fine with all that. I just think if you're going to be so steadfast about banning them, you leave a lot on the table in terms of what could actually be accomplished by making them harder to get. I think we can reduce unjustified killings with firearms more by making aggressive policies about what the hoops you have to jump through to get them, as opposed to trying to ban them, because America is so politically averse to weapons bans that they often don't pass, and it's wasted legislative time.
Well, that, and I also feel like a lot of people that like guns, I mean, I live in kind of like a redneck area a little bit. They're going to go through the processes to get the guns that they want. Like, even if you put background checks, weeks of working with them, they're going to go through the process.
If they care that much, they're going to do it. Exactly. And I don't think
I would much rather have, places regulated than completely banned.
Well, and what's going on here is that I think that the good old boy who has a gun rack on his ATV because he likes to do some bird hunting while he's in the woods with his dog, I don't think that guy is going to shoot up any schools. And the sort of weapons policies that really disproportionately affect those people cause that very large constituent group to vote against those sorts of policies, or to vote for politicians who are also against those sorts of policies. And that just doesn't help the school shootings issue. That doesn't help the violence issue that there are with youth in cities. Like there's some real serious weapons related issues in this country that we could address with just more careful policy than this.
We got some serious things coming up with the Supreme Courts and whatnot for, like, the Second Amendment in Virginia. Not a Supreme Court, but whatever the highest court is in Virginia right now. And I think there's just one in New Jersey, possibly. And so, like, this is like for my area personally, this is a huge thing that's going on like the East Coast, and I haven't really heard many people talking about it. So I kind of wanted to hear your opinion on it and whatnot, and kind of see where you stand. I know my view on it is pretty crazy, but
on Supreme Court rulings about this stuff?
They're having I'm sorry, wait, what was it?
I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking me. You're talking about Supreme Court decisions that are coming up?
Yeah, we have a hearing that we had July 1st was supposed to be the first day of the ban on assault rifles and large capacity mag rounds in Virginia, and it was put on hold for a hearing that's coming up in October.
Will's one of my mods who lives in Virginia, and he put in the Discord that he might have better answers for you than I do. Because I'll be straightforward, I haven't been following the politics of whatever's being legislated in Virginia right now.
It's a pretty significant thing, and it's.
To clarify for the chat, and correct me if I'm wrong, pretty clear. We're not talking about the federal Supreme Court. You're talking about the Supreme Court of Virginia, right?
I think it's gonna be both. I think
it matters.
Well, hold on. Let me look real quick. I think it is of Virginia.
And this is something that my producer's pointing out on the side screen.
For a lot of the states in this around us as well, because I think a lot of states are waiting for it to come out.
You've got to be careful when you use a phrase like set precedent, because Supreme Court precedent gets used for later laws, but that precedent would only apply in the state of Virginia if it is Virginia's Supreme Court. Virginia's Supreme Court deciding one way, it might encourage lawmakers or people in the judicial branch in other states to try to do the same thing, using that as like a soft precedent, but it's not precedent that they'd have to obey, because the Supreme Court of Virginia only creates precedent that has to be applied in the state of Virginia. So it's just important you understand the difference there.
We've had I think it's just statewide, but
Ezra, thank you for hopping up, but I think it was a mistake. I'm gonna let you down.
No, you can go ahead and let me down. I was just up because I talked to Ghost earlier.
Yeah. We just moved on from the topic too quickly. Thanks for hopping back up. How you doing, Will?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. Oh, in over my head in this conversation about gun laws in Virginia, though.
Yeah, it's hopefully I can help out just a little bit. Right now, it is currently just in the Virginia court system. It is going to the Virginia Supreme Court, I believe, is the next step. I believe that Ghost is right about it being in October. It was supposed to go into effect on July 1st. There was an initial stay on it being enforced, I think, through today, actually. And I believe it's been extended out so that they can continue with the litigation around it all the way to the Virginia Supreme Court. So it hasn't entered like the federal court system yet.
Well, what's being legislated though? Like what's being deliberated over? What's the question?
It's the challenge is around the high capacity magazines. Mm-hmm. It's also around, I believe, muzzle flash suppressors on rifles, and then of course the assault rifles.
Yeah. So I can't speak specifically to Virginia or like exactly how that's going to affect life in Virginia, because I just don't know the facts, but I can fall back on the general perspective I have on firearms, which I said earlier, which is that across the board, I've never been convinced that things like muzzle flash suppressors or large capacity rounds are actually the sort of thing that we could legislate in such a way that would reduce the harm, like the deaths that are caused by firearms. I don't actually see the connection, especially because like large capacity magazines are the sort of thing that like people can make at home, you know, with like 3D printers. Like that's not a difficult part of the weapon to remanufacture. So if we're talking about people who are going to commit grievous crimes like mass shootings in the first place, I mean, you're trying to issue a speeding ticket to somebody who's driving like it's Grand Theft Auto. Like at the end of the day, it's just not the right fix for the problem. I can't be, you know, like I said, I can't be sure about how specifically that's going to apply in Virginia. I just think that this is the wrong approach in general about firearms.
It's also just a huge leap from what we currently have law-wise to what they're trying to do. It's a massive leap. But the current governor was also kind of, which I don't really care much, but she kind of ran as a middleman and then went kind of straight left right afterwards.
Actually, she's gone more center. She may have seemed like she was farther to the left, but against Winsome Earl Sears, anybody, you know, seemed a lot better of an option. Like that lady was absolutely insane. But Spanberger seemed like she was a bit more left. She's gone more of the corporate Democrat route. But I think that the goal of the representatives on the Democratic side was to try and get as much as they possibly could into the bill, and with the understanding that it was going to be challenged in the courts. And I think the person who initiated the legislation, or the challenge, was one of the Commonwealth's attorneys in like the southwestern part of the state, which is, you know, significantly redder than the rest of the state.
And that is definitely where I'm kind of from.
I was going to ask,
there's a lot of sheriffs and whatnot in my area that are kind of right out refusing to, like, you know, I forgot what the word would be.
Yeah, that was actually to enforce it. That was the initial pushback, was from one of the sheriffs. Was it Washington County? I'm not all that familiar with the southwestern part of the state, so.
So we've had multiple sheriffs in this area on this side of Virginia that have just basically said that they weren't gonna, they basically said that they believed in the second constitution and weren't gonna enact on the laws on July 1st, basically. Which is why it was such kind of a big deal for me. It's like it's a lot of tension in this area that, like, I think a lot of states are kind of just not really seeing. It's a huge amount. Like, we have sheriffs that are just like basically telling the government that they're not going to listen to them if they enact it. And, you know, that's why I think it's just like, and I feel like it's kind of sad that people are just kind of overlooking it, because it's a huge deal. It really is.
Well, they're following the process. They're going through, and the legislation was passed by the legislature, signed off by the governor, and now they're getting to challenge it in the courts. So they're going to see which aspects of it are constitutional or unconstitutional. And I have a feeling that part of it's going to be struck down and part of it's going to be ruled that it is constitutional. Specifically, the part that bothers you the most there, Ghost, is the high capacity. I think that's going to hold up.
Especially since it's not just affecting security officers, because it's going to be affecting everybody else, police officers, which is fine.
Well, there should be a law enforcement exemption in it. So are you private security or are you a public employee?
I work for the state.
Are you contracted for the state?
Yeah, I'm contracted. I'm a private security but I'm contracted with the state for security in schools.
Okay.
So, like, my very big concern is that, like, you know, with the amount of school shootings happening, that I will not be armed enough to be able to defend, you know, our future and our students. And I know that was my biggest issue.
Hey, this is the producer, Raven. Chiming in with an important distinction about this conversation. An important thing to remember is that the Second Amendment does it enables a well-regulated militia. It doesn't actually say anything about personal gun ownership and what those rights are. So an important distinction here is that, like, the military itself, on base, personal gun ownership versus professional gun ownership is extremely different. So you can equate this down back to personal rights versus a militia's rights. So the conversation should be focused on whether or not people can get together and make a armed group designed to go against a tyrannical government, rather than can I own a pistol versus a 50 cal sniper for my home ownership. That's personal gun ownership. That's not covered by the Second Amendment.
I need a home defense minigun, so if anybody knows where I can pick one up.
I'm more of a crossbow man myself.
Right. Personally, I'm for gun ownership, but I do recognize that there is a limit to what a person needs in order to validate defense.
I'm with Dean Withers on this one. I it's not a hobby I've had any real interest in, but I'm getting too popular. Time for me to own a gun.
I've been a hobby shooter my whole life.
Definitely suggest, like, Oscar, I think you're at the point, man, where like that might be something that you should definitely be looking into.
Yeah, I was thinking of making it GoFundMe to buy me some guns, because I think that'd be fucking hilarious for me to, as a like liberal political commentator to do
for self-protection.
Yeah, no, of course, I mean it. I'll be more. I have people threatening to dox me and stuff like that, and like I get death threats all the time. Like I could do with the pistol in the nightstand.
I definitely think like you should. I mean, if the caller prior to me had anything to do with it, if that's just a sliver of what you get, then
Yeah.
You've got Noodle though. I mean, Noodle's a good first line of defense.
Well, she'll let me know that they're coming, so she's the reason that the pistol's already going to be in my hand.
You ever seen like Rick and Morty with the dog that had like the bodysuit? You could just get one of those for like your cat.
Noodle's not to be trusted with firearms.
All right, Oscar, you can drop me down. Thanks, Raven. Thanks, Oscar.
Appreciate you, Will. Appreciate you, Will.
Thanks, Will.
I wish I had a co-host representative from every state, because like every time Virginia comes up, Will pops in and like steals the show. Like I need 48 Wills, because I can cover Minnesota and he can cover Virginia, and we've got some other people. I do
get it big enough that like that might be a possibility in the future.
That's like. Get in the Discord. Like if you gotta prove to me that I'm not handing the mic to a nincompoop. But like if you want to demonstrate that you're the such and such state guy, get in my Discord and become the such and such state guy. We should make flair or like roles for like where people live.
Doing elections for like the states.
Just so we can keep track of who's got their ear to the ground in terms of their local politics. That'd be. Let's get in the Discord. Let's get organized on that, because there's so many people who contribute to the show, and I just want to get better organized about it. I even see some people in the queue right now. I know I see you, Jacob. I see you, Punch Nazis. I see you, Courtney. But I think we are going to wrap today. Ghost, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about super quick? We got a couple minutes before I wrap.
I have one more thing. I kind of want to know what. First off, I'm thankful we can have these like decent conversations, and I don't have to sit on my couch and just scream at you about whatever that dude was screaming about. That was insane.
Somebody get that guy a therapy session, please. He needs help.
Your viewership jumped like 100 people though. So
well, that's I'll say this about that. Like some people will say like, oh, look at Oscar, grifting for views by like engaging with this less productive bullshit. And it's like, yes, I can be an intentional grifter when some bullshit like that is happening on my show, and I can think, thank goodness Hector's here to rescue me from it. But then if the viewership comes up to the point where a more nuanced conversation like this one has more eyes on it, even if the viewership slowly withers away, like that's the sort of thing those are the sort of levers I'm pulling in the pilot seat of this show. It's like, how can I get the viewership up with entertainment so that I can get attention on the important stuff? So always trying to manage that effectively.
Well, I mean, you didn't have a choice, dude. That guy just came off and fired off.
Yeah.
So my last thing I wanted to kind of like get your views on, because I think it's local for you.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. Is the Tim Walz pardon, and what your views on that is? And
yeah, it's been covered. It's been covered on the show plenty. I think that I disagree with the decision. I don't think they should have pardoned him. I think that mostly for political pragmatic reasons, I think it was bad, because I actually do agree with Walz that I don't think he really created much harm at all by pardoning this person. I think that Trump's administration is grasping for straws to say, look, we're deporting the dangerous criminals. So they're going after people who have served their time and are functioning members of society today. And this is a guy who got swept up in that. And I don't feel for him, because he fucking raped a kid. I don't fucking care that he got swept up in this, but I do care that his victim didn't want him, or that his victim wanted him pardoned for the other reasons involved here, which is that he was a functioning member of a society and he is a member of a family, he was a parent. So like the harm, what Walz and his pardoning board said is that they're creating more harm for society by allowing Trump's administration to deport this person. Then it's not the move I would have. He fell for the trap, right? Like it's almost as though Trump wanted him to pardon this person because it's such an obvious case to say that Trump is just going after people who aren't really dangerous these days.
It was a Charlie pull situation.
Yeah.
Well, my only concern with the pardon is that they cleared his criminal record, from what I understand. And I don't think somebody who has that should have a cleared criminal record. It should be known that he did this.
I think because because he's pardoned for it, that makes it so that it didn't happen. So it pulls him off the registry and all that stuff. So like I recognize that that's the L that gets taken for the pro of him not being separated from his family and not giving Trump what they wanted, which is just like another person to deport. So, we deported a dangerous, violent rapist. It's like, yeah, what he did was horrible and dangerous and violent 25 years ago. I just don't think it's accurate to say that you deported a dangerous, violent rapist because people who are...
I'm not going to sit here and say that people don't change, but I think when you do something, consequences are consequences. I don't think he should have been cleared of his criminal record. I think that should have stayed. I mean, there's a reason why we have a sex registry.
Right, I agree completely. And it's for those reasons that I would say, nope, we need to have a hard line on rapists and we need to not let this pardon go through, even if
the pardon went through, like, we shouldn't have cleared his criminal record at all.
Yeah, that's the way that the pardon is this way that a state governor can defend against federal action against somebody who is being deported because of a state crime that they committed in the past. So what gets balled in with that is, unfortunately, it does clear their record. Tim Walz didn't have a legal mechanism to stop him from being deported without clearing his record, so that's why it happened. I disagree with the decision, but I think it's the sort of case where it's like, we're getting real close to that 50-50 on whether this is good or bad to do. I think Tim Walz assessed it to be a 55%. I assessed it to be a 45%. So he and I are in the same neighborhood, just different sides of the line. And I think it was a bad move. But he's also not really worried about making bad moves because he's dropped out of politics. He's, after what happened with fraud, the rumors around fraud and his involvement in that, like he has conceded. He's let the Reds win in destroying his political career after his attempt at being vice president. And I think that like to button this conversation and to button the show for the day, Donald Trump is protecting the fucking Epstein class. Do not tell me that my fucking governor is not protecting children because he pardoned somebody as like a move against Trump because of something that happened 25 years ago. It's ridiculous virtue signaling bullshit nonsense for anybody to say that Walz is the problem instead of Trump in terms of the people he pardons or in terms of the way that he protects sexual criminals. Get fucking real. Not you, caller. Everybody else.
No, you're good. You're good. I also just think that like I've become much more politically like aware in the last couple of years. I used to not really care, but I think that the government is, when it comes to protecting certain things, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of just issues when it comes to like just like whether it's Trump or Tim Walz. Well, I just don't see how, like, first off, I've never voted for Trump, but I just don't see how we allow people to be in like areas of, office that when they do that, like that's just, I never was a Tim Walz guy, but
yeah, I think these are important topics, but the whole Walz story is just a demonstration of the hypocrisy.
Sorry, that's my pen.
Against the background of everything that Trump and his administration have done, this should be a fucking non-story. I hate to answer with a what about, but if you want to bring me this pardon issue with Tim Walz, that I am on the different side of than him. I do disagree with him doing it. I just recognize the nuance. It's like, I do have to say, what about the Epstein files? What about pardoning the Honduran president? What about pardoning the J6ers? Like, what, all of this stuff. But I think it sounds like we agree on that.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Epstein list needs to be filed. I will be interested because I think that in the next presidential election, it's going to swing blue, and I would love to see that be released. And I will be really disappointed in our government if it doesn't get released when the Democrats take over.
Fucking 100%. Thanks for calling in. I'm sure we'll talk more, but maybe we can get more into the Epstein files another time because the show's got to wrap.
All right, dude. Well, again, I wanted just to end this with I apologize for the 6,000 thing. I'm glad that I did some research. My apologies on that. But I did do some research.
W Ghost. How many times has a caller said that they're going to research it and call back in, and then they just never call back in? You researched it, you found that you were wrong, and then you came back in, and we had a productive conversation about something else. That's what the show's about. W's for Ghost.
100%.
Thank you for hopping up, Ghost. That's been the Oskar Quentin Show on this particular Tuesday. I think it's lose track of time doing the same thing every single day. I got some donations to get through. Caitlin sent a big one. She sent $50. Thank you so much. That's going to go to the staff. That's going to get some stuff paid for around here. Caitlin sent $50 to say, thank you, Oskar, for helping me better articulate moral logic to get through to my MAGA family members. I don't have any MAGA family members, so when I hear that people are facing that issue a little bit better, Raven, I was up at that one from Tavi that I missed earlier. So I was going to go back through those. Thank you though. It like warms my heart to hear that I'm like helping people deal with that. Punch Nazis, I will talk to you at some other friendly time. I'm sure you got some interesting stuff to say. I see you in the chat. I just wanted to keep the line a little. Didn't want to crowd the panel too much today. David sent $5 to say the founding fathers couldn't make ghost guns at home with ease. We can. We can't make nukes at home right now. Doesn't mean in 200 years we can't. That was the point I was trying to get on. We never really got down that avenue. And then Daniel sent $20 to say, you're a star, man. Keep it up. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Next is Fee, who sent $1 to say, I'm in California. I don't think I'm your California guy, but I can make merch. I went to school for graphic arts and photography. Get in the Discord. I am trying to get organized with the graphic designers. Think we're going to do a contest to see who like creates the Oskar Quentin logo, because the show is too successful to not have proper branding. It just totally doesn't have any branding at all. It's just me, just my face. But I want like some kind of more sleek, lasting logo that isn't just like my face with my name next to it or something like that. And then I missed it earlier. Sorry, Tavi, for $5 earlier in the conversation sent, Blue MAGA is a term used on Democrats who are loyal to the party, not the policies. This is not the group caller. Yeah, again, just accusing me of being something that I'm not. And Tavi, I know, is a regular viewer, so he's not going to get as stuck on me missing a donation. So Nikki, who is not as regular a viewer, I'm very sorry, I missed your $10 super chat earlier. Found you last week on YouTube Shorts and have been hooked. Love the way, I love your way to the art of the debate. Calm conversation has better results. Thank you for all you do. Thank you very much. And sorry I missed that one a little bit earlier on in the conversation. And then, did another one come in? There we go. Nikki sent $5 to say, guess you missed my last donation. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Nikki. Found you and have been a hook. W Oskar for being a MAGA whisperer. Sorry, there they are back to back. Sorry for missing that one earlier. And Chrono sent another $5 to say, does the caller want rich people flying overhead in a fucking military stealth drone fully loaded? Yeah, we didn't even get to the part where it's like also a little bit unfair that these like higher like technologies, like maybe nukes in the future or drones and stuff like that now are just more available to rich people, which is something that the Constitution doesn't have a protection against. The fact that money makes you have more rights because you are able to acquire more power. We could talk. That's a more nuanced thing we could talk about on the show some other time. Mr. James Bond Tube sent $5 to say Donald Trump also pardoned people that committed crimes. Crickets. Yeah, that was he got there maybe a little bit before I did at the end of the show, because I always like to punctuate those things where it's like, why do we spend 20 minutes talking about something that a Democrat did when Trump did something 100 times worse 100 different times, and it's just like a non-issue. It's just like not a story. Anyway, VOD will be up this afternoon because Raven's gonna get to work editing on it. W Raven, W staff, W mods, W Discord, W everybody. I've had a good show today. I hope to have another good show tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Time, where I do the show every single day on TikTok and YouTube Live. Am I forgetting anything? Anything? No, I think we're good. Nothing else to say. Goodbye, TikTok. I'll catch you tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Time, and I'll say the same to YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube. See you tomorrow.